Now broadcasting from the Next Gen Conservative Studio in sunny South Florida, bringing you the latest in politics, current events, and pop culture. This is the Whitfield Report with Sam Whitfield.
Well, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Whitfield Report 15-year anniversary show, folks. I can hardly believe it's been that long, but here we are. It's been 15 years since I started podcasting, and I am very happy to be here with you all. Welcome to the show. And I'm going to do something a little special for you tonight here, folks. I'm going to be playing some old clips of the show for you all tonight. And I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy that. And for some reason, my camera, there seems to be a bit of a delay between my mouth moving and the camera itself, so that's a little weird, but nonetheless, maybe it will resolve itself. Hopefully it does. And of course, let me just check and make sure that everything is in fact okay. Yes, we are live on Rumble, it looks like. And hello to everyone on Odyssey as well. So, very nice. So hopefully we're gonna have a few guests on. Hopefully that will be the case. We may have a few surprise guests as well. I sent the link out to some people, so hopefully they'll be joining us down the line. But while I'm waiting for that, while I'm waiting for people to join and sharing the link and whatnot, I figured I would go ahead for you, ladies and gentlemen, and kind of explain the origins of the Whitfield Report, which has gone under several different names and variations over the years. Going back to the very first iteration of this podcast was called the Whitfield Nation, which I more or less ripped off from Michael Savage, and I was in junior high, and I suppose I suppose I should fill people in on the background of how I got started in podcasting in general, because it starts more or less even before I touched a microphone, ladies and gentlemen. And the truth of how I got started in podcasting is this. When I was about 9 or 10 years old, my parents got divorced, and I was, pretty emotionally devastated by that, in all honesty. And it set me into a pretty severe depression. that lasted for a number of years, and it was tough to get through. So I was dealing with this depression and just kind of um, you know, surviving the days more or less. Um, Best way I can put it. And then when I was about like so my parents got divorced when I was 9, and then when I was 10, um, I remember I was like in 4th or 5th grade at the time. Um, that was when I started to take a liking to history and American politics as subjects in school. And I began to really excel at those areas of study. And it was also that summer, ladies and gentlemen, that I would often be driving around with my mom because she would be running errands and um, doing all sorts of things, you know, daily. And so I would, be riding with her in the back seat. And I remember that she had Rush Limbaugh on in the car. And I don't really know what it was about. Well, I actually do know what it was about Rush. It wasn't anything particular that he was saying that attracted me to him. I was still very young, and I was kind of starting to begin to understand politics a bit, you know, from school and whatnot. But I didn't fully understand those yet at 10. But what did captivate me about Rush was the way in which he spoke about various topics and issues. This was a guy who was very exciting and very animated to listen to, and I could tell that he was really enthusiastic about his about what he was talking about, and that really made an impression on me. Um, and for whatever reason, it popped into my head that wow, this guy is really excited. He's animated. He's saying all these crazy things, and he's on the radio just talking to people. I want to do that someday. I want to be on the radio. So those are where the first seeds were really planted. And I do remember one particular broadcast he did that same year where he talked about the idea of American exceptionalism and the idea that you could start from abject poverty or abject struggle and yet rise up in this land of opportunity and go from rags to riches or start your own business or do whatever it is you wanted to do in this country. And as I've discussed in previous shows over the years, and I'm not going to rehash the whole story, but my parents were told when I was born that I would never walk, talk, be able to roll over, or do much of anything. I was going to be a vegetable, and yet, through hard work in physical therapy and speech therapy at a very young age, I was able to learn to talk. I went from being nonverbal at like around a year old to being fully verbal by the time I was like 3.5, 4 years old. And minus a stutter every once in a while, people really can't really tell that I have cerebral palsy. And in physical therapy and in occupational therapy, I have been working hard to improve my body and improve my life. So the ideas that Rush was talking about of American exceptionalism and bettering oneself through hard work, they weren't foreign to me because in a way I understood them in my personal life, and I still, I wanted to get on to I had the thing of radio kind of in the back of my head for a while, but obviously because I was a kid, there was no way I was going to get on air at that point. So fast forward to around 2007, right? So I'm like my parents got divorced in 2004. And then fast forward to like 2007, I'm 13 years old. And there is a comic shop over by my dad's house. And one of the other things that those who know me well probably know is I'm a huge fan of comic books. Uh, DC, Marvel when I was a kid, but before they went woke, um, and I was inspired by not just the political things I heard on the radio at a young age, but also the comics when I was growing up and the ones that had come out before I was born, talked about American exceptionalism and this idea of bettering oneself. So I was into comics from a very young age as well. And I remember around the time I was like 13 or so in 2007, that was when, uh, comic book podcasting became kind of a big deal. And people, would start listening to these things. Now, I initially hadn't heard of podcasting until um, I went into the comic shop by my dad's house with my dad, and these two guys were, um, talking into microphones. It looked like they had like a radio show or something. They were, uh, they had these two laptops and they had this sound mixer and they were sitting at a card table surrounded by all these comic books and they were talking out what was in the store that week. And, I went up to them and asked what they were doing, and they said, "We're recording a podcast." Now, keep in mind, this is like in late 2007. So at the time, no one's really heard of podcasting, but I started listening to their podcast, uh, and a few things, caught my interest. One was the fact that they could pretty much say whatever they wanted on the podcast, including swear words and, sexual jokes and, pretty raunchy comedy. And I was a teenager at that time, so I was into all sorts of mischievous stuff. But the idea that they could say these things, um, and get away with it really kind of struck a chord. They had free reign to do whatever they wanted. So I kept on listening to them, and then in 2008, when I was, in eighth grade, um, that was when the 2008 election happened, and um, Obama had just hit the scene, and everyone was kind of enthralled with him. And by that time, I, had already kind of become aware of, Obama and kind of the media bias of the left and whatnot. And one thing that was very kind of apparent to me was that the media at the time was praising Obama, and they were making John McCain, who was this veteran, out. The media made him out to be a bad guy and make him seem like a nasty, horrible individual. Sound familiar, folks? And even when I was, in junior high, like that really made an impression on me. What really made an impression on me further was CNN used to have this program called CNN Student News, which was directly targeted at like the junior high school demographic. And by today's standards, it probably seems pretty quaint, but there was definitely liberal indoctrination back then. And so, and it bugged me. And I began thinking about it and thinking about it until one day, uh, I just thought, you know, if the liberals can indoctrinate kids and spread their propaganda, then why can't why can't there be like a conservative voice for why can't there be a conservative voice that's trying to reach young people? And so um I basically did a lot of research, found this free program called Audacity, um, which you could use to record things. I grabbed a headset mic. It was like a USB headset mic that we had lying around the house. And I plugged it into my Dell laptop at the time, which was used. And I recorded this 15-minute rant, more or less. And that was my very first podcast episode, and I recorded that on March 25th of 2008. And no one really listened to that podcast, but I have to tell you, doing that podcast alone in a room really felt cathartic for me. To be able to say all these things that I had been thinking on the podcast. And one of my very earliest topics on the stream was the Iraq War. And it was it was a fun show to kind of do in retrospect. It was spur of the moment, and I'm not really sure how really good of quality the podcast was, but it was there. So that is the origins of the podcast. And let me see if I can actually find that podcast for you guys, because I've never played it on air before. But I looked it up the other day, and I believe I found it, if I am not mistaken. I'm gonna go. Let me just do some searching if I can remember it. And so far, I'm not seeing anyone here in chat at all. But while I'm thinking of it, I would like to acknowledge Genius Anus for donating $15 worth of PlayStation credit to help celebrate the show. So I would like to, I'll do acknowledgements at the end of the show. But I would like to acknowledge Genius Anus for sending that very generous donation. So, okay. Hold on a sec, folks. I hate to. Okay. That's why I mistyped the podcast. Okay. Alrighty there. All right. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just make sure that before I go ahead and play this for you all, let me make sure that I do in fact have the right episode. All right. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Air opening the file. Oh my god. Well, hold on. Not all is lost, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see here. Yeah, hold on. Oh, are you kidding me? All right. Well, this is unfortunate, but I guess ladies and gentlemen, that Podbean, who was my very first podcast host, that they decided to delete the file of my very first podcast after all these years, which is a real bummer. I was really hoping to be able to play that for you guys, even though it is kind of cringe. But you know what's not cringe at all is we do have a guest, Genius Anus, joins us on the show.
Hey man, my audio is probably going to be. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, my audio is probably going to be shit, but I wanted to jump in just briefly to help you celebrate. That wasn't $15. I must have garbled how I said it. That was $30. So it's $15 for 15 years. And then it was another $15 because I was in the process before YouTube unjustly banned you. I was in the process of super chatting you, and they took you down in the middle of me paying for that super chat.
Oh, geez. Well, thank you then for the $30. So
I did some snooping around. I found out someone had already gotten you that damn wizard game because I was going to profess my love to you and get you the wizard game. But I heard you already had it, and I couldn't quite figure out how to buy it digitally and send it to you. So instead, you got $30.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I appreciate it. So, and by the way, I think President Trump might be contacting you over your. He might be trying to buy the trademark for horse face now. So.
Oh, is he going up against that one bitch? I can't even remember her name.
Stormy Daniels.
No, Stormy Daniels isn't the horse face in politics. It's Ann Coulter. Is he going back against Ann Coulter again?
I don't. Yeah. Well, he called Stormy Daniels horse face at the at that rally today, though. So, and I'm like, wait a minute, Ralph isn't gonna get confused. So
right. Ralph's about, oh my God, I'm fucking a porn star. Pansy, May, get in here. Put the damn baby down. Get in here.
So, but yeah.
Trump can have it, and because I like Trump, I'll give it to him for a real cheap price. Men like him, I'd probably let the trademark go for about $1 million.
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy money for him. He wipes his ass with $1 million. So.
No, that's the coin merchant. We know he's the one that wipes his ass with fucking raw silver. This shit out $30,000.
Which, as always, I have this. I have my silver piece sitting on my desk. So yeah.
He sent me mine. I told him he was 29 pieces short.
Yeah. I guess they get a ton of them though at the coin shop, from what I understand. So.
Oh no, I saw today he was putting up some fucking Nazi money on his coin shop or whatever, talking about history repeating itself. I'm just like, I don't read Hitler Youth. Understand my struggle.
Well, speaking of that, though, while you're here, I do kind of want to get your reaction on that because I find it funny that the same day of my show's anniversary, Nick Fuentes got felted in the biggest way possible by by Kanye. I guess he likes Jews again now because of Jonah Hill of all people.
You know what? I don't like Kanye, but I do have to agree with him that Jonah Hill was a funny Jew. Loved him in The Wolf of Wall Street. Put the phone down.
There's that one scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where Leo takes like way too many Quaaludes and he compares like overdosing on Quaaludes to having like severe cerebral palsy. And I'm like,
that's the point I was about to make. They get high on Quaaludes, and all of a sudden they turn into Sam Whitfield minus the chair.
Oh yeah.
Get off the phone. But since we are celebrating your 15 years in podcasts, I do have to, beat on my cripple every once in a while. And it's been a while since I've been able to beat on my cripple. I'm going to tell you a story you probably haven't heard before.
Hold on. I heard something about some guy wiping his ass with silver, and I felt summoned. And so here I am.
Raw silver.
Raw. You better believe it's raw. All right, go ahead. Happy 15 years, Sammy. I don't know how long you can stick around, but I wanted to chime in.
Thank you.
Check your PayPal, man. I closed your.
Well,
you're welcome. You're welcome. That's how I be. Okay, go ahead. I cut Genius Amos off.
But yeah, so you.
I'm used to it. You don't laugh at my jokes. You cut me off. I see how it is.
So you had to admonish Genius Amos then.
Yeah.
I'm always admonished.
And I still usually admonish her, so that should tell you something.
I'm still waiting on that shirt to come in, man. It sent me my total A-Log victory shirt, but it hasn't sent the other two.
I have 4 out of 6, and yeah, I'm still waiting on the other 2.
And it sent me the coffee cup I ordered from Maps, but it hasn't sent me my internet scumbag shirt. So I've got a whole wardrobe that's just waiting to be shipped to me, apparently.
All right, I killed your story, man. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself.
It's actually kind of good that you're here. You're in this story because I don't know if you've ever told Sam the story about when he followed me on Twitter back in the old days.
Oh no, I haven't. Yeah,
this is how I.
It's your story.
This is how I found out about my favorite cripple, Sam Whitfield. I had no idea that he'd interviewed Vickers. This is back when I was still happily a nobody, and nobody really cared about me on the internet. It was great. It was quiet. I could shit post, and everybody left me the fuck alone. And this is part of the reason why Sam followed me became such a big deal. Because I was just like in DMs with Vickers talking about, he made 40 grand, 50 grand, 60 grand, just pissing it away in the toilet or whatever. And what lightsaber he was getting next, whatever shit we were talking about. And then all of a sudden I got a notification on my phone that somebody had followed me. And it's Sam Whitfield. I'm like, this motherfucker looks too professional to be on Twitter. Because I don't know if anybody's ever seen Sam's Twitter profile pictures. But he takes it way too seriously. He went and had a photo op for running for president or some shit. And his profile picture is 5 fucking star, gold plated, looks professional as fuck while everybody else is running around with anime avatars. Especially the people that follow a guy named Genius Anus on the fucking internet. So I saw it pop up with my notifications, and I did what any reasonable asshole would do, and I blew it up. I'm like, what's this motherfucker's pronouns? Is he a they, them, a he, she? Oh, he's a Crip Earl. Huh. But in his profile, his pronouns were like journalist and podcaster and everything. And I don't even know if Vickers remembers this story, but I immediately DM'd him. I was like, dude, oh my God, you're not going to fucking believe this. A real life, honest to God journalist just followed me. Who the fuck does that? All I seen was like journalists and that slick ass fucking profile picture. I'm like, oh my God, a real journalist followed me. I fooled one.
Yes, my alarm finally paid off after all these years.
Right? So that's how I was introduced to Sam Whitfield. This is before I ever appeared on his show. I'd never watched his show. This is why I still to this day I'm a big fan, is because I fooled Sam Whitfield into following me. But it was the ultimate grip because now I'm following him and super chatting him.
Well, do you know how I love that story. And Matt, do you actually know how I found out about you?
Yeah, vaguely, but hey, remind me while I'm here.
Well, I think we have someone else here too. Oh, awesome. Max is here too. So this will be great. But
yeah, hold on. If Max is here, I'm fucking leaving. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Well,
he expects his people.
I kid because I love.
Well, good evening, Max. So,
oh God, GA is here. It'll be a laugh riot.
Yeah,
that's generous.
we might.
Man, you must be in a good mood tonight.
We might have the Gamma here soon too.
I gotta get Akaba to come in and talk about Racing Lagoon now, and we'll be just...
Yeah, can we not?
He may not be able to fit through.
I don't
he may not be able to fit through the door. He's in a diabetic coma. Akaba's in a diabetic coma from Pizza Hut.
By now he might be. Yeah, I've DM'd a few times today to make sure he was still alive.
Probably. Which, by the way, congratulations on 1,000 subs.
1,000 subs for 5 minutes, yo. As soon as he got his
Empire,
fucking pizza,
baby.
we lost like 15 subs right away. Which I fully expected would happen, but
we're
8 away right now.
Well, listen, you got closer than I ever did. YouTube cut me off at the knees at 850 subs, but
fuckers.
Well, to be fair, that's a false comparison, Sam. His knees actually work.
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
dude.
But anyway, no. How I found out about your whole situation, Mr. Vickers, was because a few years ago, before Owen Benjamin became crazy, he was doing political commentary.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he did go crazy, I made some tweet saying that, like, I had never seen anyone go insane on the internet like Owen Benjamin had.
Right.
And I forget who tweeted me specifically, and I wish I did, but someone said, "Oh, if you think Owen Benjamin is insane, you need to check out this other guy named Ethan Ralph." And I saw the shark clip.
Yeah.
And then I talked to Apex, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know all about this Ethan Ralph guy," and he was the one who told me about Faith and what had kind of happened. And someone else then suggested that, hey, this guy has this Vickers guy, he's kind of been doing the podcast circuit, but no one's given him a serious interview yet. They've all kind of been trolling him, so why don't you actually give him a serious interview? So after watching some of the interviews, I'm like, yeah, no one's actually interviewed this guy. So I DM'd you, and the rest is history.
Yep. and it's been a good time. Hey guys, I wanted to pop on real quick because I actually DM'd Sarah like, I can't make it on because I got my kids waiting for dinner to get here. Wife's asleep, everything else. We worked all day at the coin shop, just hammering out money like crazy money making motherfuckers. But Sammy, happy 15 years. Max, sorry I couldn't stick around and chat longer. Genius, go fuck yourself. No, I'm just kidding. You're a good guy. All right.
I deserve that.
I'm out, you guys. I might be in and out just kind of listening and in chat, but I got a lot of shit to do. So I will talk to you guys later. See you guys.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. I got it was a hectic day for me as well, but I had to drop by. 15 years is quite the milestone. And you've been very consistent at this the whole time too. A lot of people, not so much. They might have a episode of the Cringe Coffee House like 5 or 6 times a year or something, but
but the thing at the Cringe Coffee House is it's gold every those 6 episodes per year. They're all gold.
Yeah, well, that's because I just wait like for funny shit to happen, and I don't try to force it. I used to try and force myself to do weekly content, and it just gets it's a grind, but it's a grind that you've been at for a very long time, and that's a very respectable milestone for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, in all honesty, as I was kind of saying before you got on here, I don't know if you caught this, but like I basically started doing this whole thing because it was like cathartic for me, and here we are, all these years later. It kind of also changed though too a bit, like my reason for doing it. So it used to be just like me wanting to propagandize to kids and do like the whole right-wing thing. But then I actually matured and figured, hey, I could do an actual like show off of this. So
yeah, and it's been a hell of a ride these past couple of weeks. The Kurt interview was great. Having Craig on was good. You and I have been having a lot of fun with the Monday shows. Interesting topics to bust out.
So
it seems to be heading in the right direction.
Did you speaking of, I see you have your Trump meme there. Did you get a chance to watch the that rally?
I have. It's my wife is celebrating a birthday, and this was our weekend when our son was at his grandmother's, and last night we had some drinks. And no, I haven't watched or paid attention to damn near anything. But I said I would be here.
He's got a bun in the oven.
I said I would be here for this show, and that's why I'm here.
Why I appreciate it. So, well, Smuly and I watched the rally, and it was pretty good. It was, it was Trump being Trump. So,
which is what you want of him, right? Like,
but yeah. So,
I do want to jump in here real quick because I'm at Vickers. I'm only able to jump on briefly. I do want to say again, Matt, happy birthday to your wife. I don't know how she puts up with you, fucking goblin looking dwarf. Sammy, I don't know how your wife puts up with me. Honest to God, me and you are the same person. Remember that. Never forget. And then, Sammy, enjoy your card. I'm going to keep on listening on Rumble. I'm on my phone, so I'm not able to sign in and get into chat or anything, but I did want to jump on and help you celebrate everything. And now that Max is here, who is a way better co-host than me, I'm going to leave it in capable hands. And you're going places, buddy. You're going to be the new fucking big podcaster of the sector from the top on up.
Thanks.
Oh, God, not that sector. Hopefully.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So
except from the top on up. So he's going to skip the sector and he's going to go up to the next level.
Yeah. So Yeah.
Remember us on the bottom whenever you make it to the top, okay?
Oh no!
Remember,
I'm
you're our
I'm
ticket to the front of the line.
I'm bringing you with me.
You
So,
are already forgotten. I mean, yeah.
Sammy's like, who are you people and why are you here? That's my box. Anyway, congratulations, Sammy. I'm going to go back to doing anus shit. But again, I'm always here for you, buddy. Let me know if you ever need anything, and I'm out.
appreciate it. So, all right. And I don't know. Okay, there he goes. So, yeah, I think the stuff we've been doing for the past 2 weeks has been pretty good. So,
Yeah, and if people think it's been good, we're planning on more of that. It seems to be working, right?
yeah, I'm a bit disappointed though because I was gonna play my very first podcast episode, but then Podbean I guess decided to take it down. So that's a bummer.
Epic.
But yeah, so
Yeah. I had, I told you before. I think I said it on the show. I was on a while ago. I used to do internet radio in the halcyon days. Way back before YouTube was
yeah,
even a thing. And when Cryptic Radio died, I realized then that it was a mistake to expect the server to back up my content. I lost years and years worth.
that's what
Interviews
happened.
interviews with artists and stuff. It just
Oh yeah, that's a bummer. So yeah,
storage was a little trickier back then. We didn't have 5 terabyte fucking hard drives that you could just stick in.
not just that, but like I remember like in the early days of podcasting, like you would have like limited like upload space on those podcast websites. So
See, we did it through Shoutcast, which worked through Winamp, and so
right.
it's just a live feed, right? But the problem is, if you don't record it on your end, then you're hoping that it stays up in the server. And we had a server, and I could go back and pull all my old episodes at the time. But when they went out of business, I had never figured on that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Save your shit, Lesson learned.
Yeah.
But we couldn't know this kind of stuff back in this is the kind of stuff you just have to deal with. No one could have predicted YouTube just absolutely just shitting all over its primary demographics the way it has been, but they have been. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, I mean, Blog Talk Radio did kind of the same thing, because I mean, I was over there for years, as well, and then what happened with Blog Talk Radio was they basically like outpriced themselves, to the point that no one wanted to use them. They wanted to like it went from being like free to like, hey, we want to charge like $200 a month for you to use our service.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
And shocker, a lot of people didn't like that,
No, I mean I guess a few extraterrestrial podcasts are still, doing their thing. So, and that actually, I've thought of like prank calling them a few times, but yeah, no one's gonna watch that. So, but
well, they have their dedicated fan base.
I would watch that.
It would be real cool if
I am an internet scumbag, so I don't know how large the demographic for that is.
I do have to point this out. I went and looked, and I sold way more internet scumbag shirts than I ever thought possible. And cringing over coffee mugs. I don't know how that happened because nobody watches my show, but shout out to the people who bought shit, I guess.
It's almost like what I said was a segue into it. You know what I mean? Into bullying you to returning those shirts because they are of a high quality fiber. I just want to let everybody know out there, these are good quality shirts and they're funny. And when you walk up to your friends, they're going to see your internet scumbag shirts. They're going to think that's funny. And maybe you'll stop being an incel and finally lose that virginity.
That's true. That's what an internet scumbag shirt can do for you. No, I'm taking them down though because they're actually not high quality, and it's my fault. You see, the design that we use, that kind of like hard line, looks like a pencil or like some. The idea I told her was like make it look like a kid drew it in his notebook, like it's a band logo. The problem is when they screened it on, it's so thin that it wears off. I actually, that's why I took the one I had behind me down, is because it just started to wear off. So we're actually replacing them to do like a better version, more or less.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about the fact that mine says net re.
Yeah.
Do you guys use like Teespring or something for your store?
I did use Spring for this. I'm if I do a second run, I'm going to use another service. But Spring was fine. It's just like I said, I made a design that wasn't as well thought out as I had thought.
Well, because I was in I've been talking about this for a few years, but I mean, folks, this might be a good time to bring up. Folks want to know when Whitfield Report T-shirts are coming, and when the answer is when I can find a provider other than Teespring, because they won't let me upload my like logo design because they think I'm basically like plagiarizing Joe Rogan's logo or something, even though I'm not.
Well, that's okay because we're not going to make your logo as the T-shirt anyway. We're going to come up with some fun and creative designs, and we're going to have them out probably by the end of the month. Now that you mention it, because that's easy. We'll take care of that, Sam.
Is it ableist if we beat him to the market with Sam Whitfield Report merchandise because he's crippled? Like, is that distasteful? Is that dishonorable in business?
No, we just have to buy some of his as like affirmative action.
Okay, I don't want to impact our store's ESG score.
Right. Well, that's one I was thinking of, Sam. I'll run it by you right now. Is a T-shirt that's kind of the handicap logo that looks like you. It just says the Whitfield Report.
I'm actually all for that. So
yeah, I thought you would be. We put some sunglasses on it, and a flat cap.
Yeah, no, I've actually got a T-shirt that that a friend of mine made for me. It's in the laundry right now. I just remembered. Otherwise, I would grab it. But it's one of a guy in a wheelchair, and then a chick is like in his lap, and it just says naked chair right. It says naked chair right on it, and that shirt was given to me by a fan, so named
Awesome.
Phil. So
yeah. We could just do your logo, right? But that would be kind of boring anyway. And if Spring's giving you a hard time about that, well, shit. We can come up with funny T-shirt designs. And I really think people are more like the internet scumbag thing. I didn't think I was going to sell one shirt, except maybe somebody would send one to Dave. Well, it turns out they sent like 10 to Dave, and then other people, and I don't know who they are. Whoever it is, and it's like 10 to 15 different people who bought my shirt. Who are you? Say hi in chat sometime.
what
the hell?
Well, I don't know if you were here, but Genius Anus, before he popped on, just said that he bought like a bunch of.
He did. He's the one I can confirm. He even bought a mug, which is pretty dope. I didn't even get the mug for myself yet, because I don't use the traditional coffee mugs. I use like a big metal one that keeps it hot. And Spring didn't have anything like that. Trust me, I looked, because if I could have a cringing over coffee mug, that was gonna be awesome. But
yeah, a thermos or something. Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, like it didn't seem like it was worth spending like $12 on a coffee mug that for a bit, you know.
Yeah, no, especially not like one of those screen printed, like, you know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
cheapy ones. So
Yeah, but we're gonna look into it. We're gonna see who does high quality merchandise. That's where we're gonna go. We'll do some funny funny t-shirts and stickers, right?
Well, I know, like as far as mugs go, or in thermos, I'm sure you're familiar with the brand Turbis.
Mhm.
Turbis is actually headquartered near me in Florida. So I've
How
got a
long is this ad read going to go? Because, like, I mean, are you paying me by the hour? Because I'm supposed to come in here and set the thing up so that they would talk about the shirts, and we're just talking about
have you never
merchandise.
done an ad read before on radio? This is how they always go. They
yeah.
burg out
The
for like 20
meander?
minutes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's well. See, the best part is to have a segue that completely like sucks and misses the mark and is very obviously a segue into shilling, and then to autistically discuss the product or potential other products for about 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, that's what it seems to be in most shows, right?
Yeah. And by the way, use promo code Smuly at checkout. So
use promo code Sigma Smuly at checkout.
So, I mean, we already talked about Trump's speech. We've already talked about
only a little, only briefly for me to say that I missed it.
Yeah,
it
only a
was
little. What were
absolute. The use of music was something that I had not seen previously. He like asked everybody, like kind of almost bowed their heads. Like, people took their hats off, and then like violin music came, and he just started naming the problems of our country, like one after another. And he's like, "We're a country," and just like tears into it, dude. And everybody's like fucking quiet. It was just absolutely amazing. But that was from the beginning as well, as they asked everybody to stand, and it was the January 6th choir and Donald Trump. And they started playing that.
Yeah, I did not.
The speech he gave, I mean, he's given other ones, I think, that are equally as good. He gave one to the class of 2017 that's like a classic inspirational speech, right? And I think that the speech he gave towards the end of that rally is probably one of the greatest speeches he's given. Obviously, we all remember the Mount Rushmore speech.
Yeah.
That was one of the better ones as well. So I think he's back with the energy. I think that his platform is winning because, quite honestly, I think he needs to talk about the fact of the things he wants to do more than even talking about, the people we face.
It is
because
interesting.
It's a beautiful vision and it's a juxtaposition. I mean, go ahead, Max, because this is stuff that people would have talked about in 2016, kind of in our circles, right? Like the problems with agriculture, birth rates.
Yeah.
He's hitting all of the points. Go ahead.
Well, it's I was gonna say is like the primary itself is an interesting prospect, because we don't talk about this often, but DeSantis on paper doesn't differ from Trump almost on anything, and so we're all gearing up to have a primary, literally not based on any issue at all. It's based on personality, and I just find that extremely interesting.
Yeah, that's what I've been screaming about not screaming, but that's what I've been saying for the past few weeks. I don't necessarily see why people are shitting on DeSantis. I mean, I get they have personality differences, but
I could give you a bunch of reasons why I would shit on
I'm
DeSantis.
one of those people.
But they have nothing to do, again, with specific policy proposals of either him nor Trump. It has to do with things like I was saying, where he didn't come out and say, hey, this is not right the way, if you're going to prosecute Trump, he's a citizen of my state. Like he could have really
that
easy.
Would have been
it was
such
an
easy
low ball.
win.
It was such a low ball for him to do. And what did he do instead? He went out there and said, well, I don't know anything about making payments to porn stars. Okay, so you take an attack. That's cool. That shows me the kind of person you are.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
his walking it back many days later by giving the speech that he should have immediately said, right?
After polling came in on it, he realized that it was a bad call.
Which is a problem that Ron DeSantis is going to have in this, is that he will walk back stuff that he said, and so when he's out there and everybody has scrutiny to him, he's not going to have the Trump effect.
Right?
Yeah.
People know instinctively Trump ain't walking his shit back. For better or for worse, they at least know that about him.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. But most of the time, to be fair to Donald Trump, for the vast majority of the time, it's kind of like he shouldn't have backed down anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even from a traditional thing, he never did anything wrong. You know what I mean?
But I caution to say that, like, again, on policy, they're not that different, which is why if Ron DeSantis is actually a smart political operator, as people are claiming that he is to me, he's not going to run, because it is career suicide. I don't care how good of a candidate you think he is. He is not the incumbent that people want. The majority of Republicans think that election was stolen from.
Right.
We're not allowed to say that on YouTube or whatever, but like, people do think that still. Just because you tell us we can't talk about it, most people think so. They think he's the rightfully elected president now, and then on top of that, he's running again. This is like our kind of revenge tour, so to speak. And if DeSantis is going to try and derail that, then yeah, de facto he looks like part of the establishment that is out to get Trump, whether he is or not.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and Smuly and I have talked about this before too. I mean, DeSantis basically said during his re-election campaign for governor that his only intention for right now is to remain, governor of Florida. And
right, but he's clearly not being truthful with that, because we see that he has the campaign people filling out the paperwork and exploratory committees, and we see he's talking like he's running. Like we're not stupid, right? This is the thing this is why I don't like Ron DeSantis in 2024 as a candidate at all, and I think he shouldn't even put his hat in the fucking ring if he's smart. But I'm not so sure he is anymore, because if he does, he's forever the never Trump guy. And look, Trump's not going to be our guy. Like, this is his last hurrah. We all know this. He's not going to be there in 2028. He might not even be alive by 2032. He's old. So here we are. Like, this is his last fucking chance. If you're going to be the guy to fucking stick that to us, you're sticking it to the populist movement that he built, the one that you rode into office.
Yeah, well, it won the same one that a few years ago was praising you for how you were handling COVID in Florida.
Right. So that's what I mean. They sweat that the MAGA movement is what got him in the first place. He was saying MAGA shit. He handled COVID the same way. All the people, all the DeSantis doomers that criticize Trump's handling of COVID, how do you square it with the fact that DeSantis also endorsed the vaccine, also tried to get it out as fast and to as many people as possible, and also said that it was safe and effective? So if you don't like Trump supporting the vaccine, then why on earth would you endorse Ron DeSantis, who does this exact same position?
Right, which I mean, I was never one of those people that criticized Trump or DeSantis for.
Right.
For that,
but you see them all over the place, and that's my point. If you're the anti-COVID, anti-vaccine, anti-lockdowner person, right? Your candidate is probably not Trump or DeSantis. It's probably some obscure, weird, like, right wing,
the hippie mama from the Democrats.
Yeah. If
Marianne Webster, I think
Williamson. Yeah, Marianne Williams. Yeah, if you're the anti-COVID, anti-vax people, neither DeSantis nor Trump is your candidate, right? Because both of them are going to express their record of getting the vaccine out to as many people as possible. They're both going to do that because that's things that they both did, and the things that they can take credit for when they were in charge. And so they do. And if you're surprised by that, I don't know what to tell you, but I'll tell you this. if you think that Trump's handling of COVID is why you don't want to vote for him in 2024, then I wouldn't vote for DeSantis either, because he has the same position.
Well, and that is a very dumb position to hold, though, basically, because COVID was
because 80% of 80% of Republicans have gotten the vaccine. Is that why it's a dumb position? Because that's part of it.
well, certainly that, but also like COVID, like putting aside all conspiracy theories and whatnot about the lab and whatnot, right? Like putting all that aside, COVID was going to happen anyway, right? So
something like it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's the same as like the bird flu in 1917 or whatever. Like, every 100 years you get a super bug, right?
It's just like I mean, this might kind of be a bad comparison, but it's like you can't really blame George Bush for 9/11 per se, because 9/11 was going to happen. It might have happened regardless, right? Same thing with like COVID. Like Trump just happened to be president then, and he handled it pretty damn well.
He also called the former president Donald Trump also said that that fucking prostitute Stormy Daniels looks like a horse.
True.
Yeah,
she does.
And that was hilarious. I thought that was my favorite part.
Yeah, I told Genius Anus that Trump is going to be looking to buy the trademark.
Well, he said that he never cheated on the first lady, and that and if he did, that wouldn't be the one. I can tell you, that wouldn't be the one.
And I just want to be clear with my DeSantis stuff. I'm not saying if you're like anti-vax, like we can have that argument, like you're entitled to that opinion, people can talk about it. But what I'm saying is if that matters to you, if it's really, really important to you, then neither Trump nor DeSantis are your guy. And that is about 20% of Republicans. Unfortunately, it's also the very vocal 20% of Republicans that you see all over social media. But again, look at the numbers. The number of registered Republicans who actually received and when I say got the vaccine, I'm not including boosters because we don't even have all that data. But the first two shots, 80% of Republicans got the first two shots.
Yeah, and I'm not,
and it's like 90% of Democrats, right?
Well, and I mean, I want to be clear, like I mean, and I've said this on the show before, and they still ban me on YouTube for saying it. I'm not against the vaccine itself per se. What I'm against is the idea of mandates.
Yeah, I've been opposed to mandates since the beginning. And that's another, like, I think misconception with Trump's handling of COVID. The lockdowns, supposedly, that he had recommended, and yes, he got bad counsel. Fauci was one of the guys, right? We know that now, but he had no reason at the time to be as suspicious of Fauci as one might be today. Certainly, Trump is very critical of Fauci today, right? And he says that this guy gave me bad advice. However, what was the actual thing? It was a voluntary lockdown for 2 weeks to slow the spread. And the reasoning made perfect sense at the time. You can, fucking twist it however you want. But he said, look, we don't have therapeutics like we do for the flu, and we don't have a vaccine, and we don't have much way of mitigating sick people. And so they were concerned that there might be a run on hospitals. 2 weeks is a reasonable time to see, okay, if there's going to be a run on hospitals, by now we'll know it. And then other people are minimizing their risk. It was all reasonable. And then the 2 weeks was up, and he said, you know what, we might need to extend it for a month. Also a reasonable decision. At that point, after the month had ended, and this is what people seem to forget, everything from that point, first of all, that was all voluntary. There was no law saying you had to stay inside your house during that 1 month period, right?
Right.
But more importantly than that, when it was done, it was all then up to the governors in the states and state legislatures, and they're the ones that did all of the mandates and lockdowns, except barring one, and that was the vaccine mandate for government employees. That was done on the federal level. Everything else, like this is where I get mad at the fucking at the COVID alarmists and conspiracy theorists and anti-vaxxers. It's like you guys are mad at national politicians for decisions that
Yeah.
your local politicians made.
Well, and not just that, but like a lot of those stay-at-home orders were also that you were talking initially were not necessarily issued by the government per se, but schools and businesses were the ones that were
Right.
closing things down and initially
Until states made lockdowns mandatory, and then we saw like the small business genocide unseen in American history. More small businesses died because of those lockdowns than any decision in American history, and I include the fucking stock market crash that led to the depression in that. They'd actually killed less small businesses than COVID.
Yeah. I mean, now do you think that the economic collapse that we're having right now is a result of COVID? Because I'm not sure that it is, but I've seen
it's a
people
result
theorizing that on Twitter.
It's a result of when Biden received the reins, we had an economy that could have been fully rebuilt. So let's look at like alternate reality. If Trump was in office right now, how would things have gone differently? Well, you could expect that he was going to continue the same economic policies he had that were ultra successful by anybody's fucking metric. And then two, you could imagine that was not going to close the oil pipelines day one, right? You could imagine that he's not going to tell Saudi Arabia to go fuck themselves if he did close down the oil pipeline. You could guarantee that the Abraham Accords, which were, partied to by every major Middle Eastern country except for Iran, would still at least be fucking talked about and discussed instead of Israel going into a state of full-blown civil war with the Palestinians, right? Again and again, if Trump is in office, no, I think we would be in a recovery from COVID instead of what we're in. Yes, it is caused by COVID, but it was a moment of which way Western man, and the Biden administration picked the one of harming the economy in every way possible. And there's no real justification for closing down the oil pipeline other than green radicalism, right? Radical, like eco-terrorist almost mindset. And a willingness to crash the entire economy for the goal. I actually do consider what the Biden administration did eco-terrorism.
Yeah. Me too. Well, I mean, I still think that they have. I mean, it's clear that the Biden administration has special interests in Ukraine too.
Oh yeah. Well.
And so that's why.
None related to his son, though. I'm sure.
Yeah. God, I'm so glad we can. I'm glad we can actually say that now. We don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Speaking of that,
I just want to say this mild ass conversation would not be allowed on YouTube.
No,
this is milquetoast as fuck. A lot of people who are like more on the radical side of the right now are pulling their hair out at me. Like Max is way too soft or whatever. But just keep in mind, like what we're saying is too edgy for YouTube.
What?
Well, I mean, I don't understand who's pulling you in that direction. I mean, we are sort of the hard line of that specific movement. I mean, I hate this. I'm gonna group you in with like.
I specifically meant the COVID people, right? Like they're not gonna like what I had to say here. But I tried to show like empathy to their position when I say like DeSantis or Trump isn't your guy. I'm not saying that to belittle them. It's true.
Right.
It's funny the way these guys work. I mean, I always just tell them. I always tell them that power is not as centralized as they think it is, and that a lot of people work together because they have aligning ideologies or motivations. And usually they're going to hit me with some like, well, you didn't see this hard hitting evidence. And it's just like, well, if I watch this, is it going to actually be what you claim? Is this going to be proof that COVID was premeditated and planned? And then all of a sudden they're going to walk back to some like, no, well, actually it was the response to it, right? They're then going to walk back the original claim, right? They have no problem sitting there making wild claims, but when asked to actually provide evidence, they can't. and you know, their
Or
entire
it's not as
movement is
solid
annoying.
evidence as they think it is upon any critical eye. This is a problem I
Yeah.
find with a lot of people is confirmation bias. Any evidence that leans towards their preferred outcome, they're going to accept far less critically than evidence that
Yes.
disproves it.
And not deceiving yourself in that way allows you to be an effective political operator, right?
Well,
Like,
and it's
when you're
important though. Like our position is really important because like our position is okay. Like say some of the stuff they've said over the years has been true. The lab leak, of course, we said that too.
Yes.
It's one of those things they have to put you on a binary. Like you're either completely anti-vax or you love everything they did about COVID, and obviously that's stupid. But that's the situation. And so when they come up with something that's true, we're in a better position than anybody else to say, okay, and so where's the harm, the provable harm in this? Can we use the law to redress this grievance? Can we use it in the minds of the people to get a democratic solution or a less than democratic one? Like, what can we do to redress this grievance that is actually a grievance? The fact that it's a lab leak, right? And now even the left admits that. The fact that the lab was funded by taxpayer money, the fact that Dr. Fauci was up to his ankles in fucking gain of function testing. Yeah, like heads should be rolling for this.
But they're
but if you sound too crazy, nobody wants to have the hearing to get the heads rolling.
Yeah, they are deceived about what real power is and how to engage in power, and instead sort of have their like masturbatory doomer posting, right? And their e-daddies.
Well, they think that like all these conspiracies, they think it's like the X-Files where all these where like all these like plots are, like plotted out in like a smoky room with like a bunch of guys smoking cigarettes and whatnot, right?
Yeah,
when really it's just all these different organizations. They don't meet
they
in
read
one
the same
room.
books. They read the same books. They read the same. They all read George Soros's webs. This is one I've come across. A lot of people say a lot of stuff about Soros, and you ask, well, have you read what he said about this issue? Well, like he posts all this shit publicly. It's not a secret, and then they all read. It's not like he's in a smoky room, like you said, giving out orders. He posts up, okay. Today we're focused on harm reduction. What harm reduction means is giving drug paraphernalia to drug users and allowing them to use drugs publicly, right? And so we're going to do that, and this is how you work on that. And if you're in this sector of the economy, you can help out in this way. And these are things that you could do to help this cause. And then they all do those things. It wasn't in order though. It was this is what, if you care about our left-wing causes, this is how you will act. And they do. The right does the opposite. When somebody gives good, sound political advice, in a lot of cases, most people on the right will reject it. That's why Trump stands out, because he did the opposite of that. Traditional political advice would be when the grab him by the pussy tape dropped to drop out. You're done. That's it. You're over.
According to Steve Bannon, it was only him and Kushner. And he said that everyone in the room at that moment was talking about how they could save the reputation of the party. Not the how we can win, not how we can pull out of it, how we can save like this campaign. They thought that this was bad for the party.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they pretty much did. I mean, they pretty much did that shit. It's interesting that you bring up the, resign over the affair thing, right, Max? Because that's exactly what the Republican Party did to my guy Herman Cain back in 2012.
And he happens to be friends with Trump. It's weird. Like almost maybe they might have talked about this at some point.
Well, yeah. Well, and I remember back in like 2012, I was screaming at the Republican Party for basically like kicking Herman Cain out of the race, because nobody wanted to see Mitt Romney and Barack Obama debate. They were boring.
Literally anybody else would have done better in the general election than Mitt Romney.
Right, but the debate that everyone real wanted to see early on was Herman Cain versus Barack Obama. And one of the main reasons, at least amongst my generation, is you can't use the Obama's black, so you have to vote for him excuse, because they were both black. So that, that gets that argument gets tossed out right away. So, but too bad.
Yeah. Basically.
I just like 999. I like the way he said 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 999 plan. Interesting enough about that. That's the default tax rate in SimCity.
That's epic.
So like it was considered when they did all the testing for SimCity that the 999 is the exact percentage of taxes that will almost any city, unless you spend yourself into oblivion, can survive with that tax rate with you never adjusting it, because they knew most players would never adjust the tax rate. They're just there to build a city. And it's just funny that his plan is exactly that. And it's like, well, we have the simulations at least.
He was good. But
who knows that SimCity? Who knew that SimCity could be real educational? Oh wait, I did.
Yeah, literally anyone who ever played it. It's also cool because you can like have a UFO come and blow up your town, but also you can learn economic stuff and like bureaucratic bullshit. Another thing about the power top down stuff, and we don't really talk about this, but the way a lot of people structure it, they think there's this like Illuminati NWO that is like personally controlling right down to the most minuscule level and spying on everything we do and completely controlling of our life, maybe with a social credit score of some kind. And it's amazing to me that nobody realizes that if that were the case, we would just be China, because that is actually what China is like. You could just mildly criticize the Chinese government and end up getting black bagged, right? That is how China actually is. So if we had these psychopathic elites that wanted to control, when we take a shit, why would they not use the Chinese model directly instead of trying to use kind of a corporate, government hybrid that's far less effective?
Don't you know that they want to? It's just now insert like Constitution if you're like a right-wing conspiratard, or like, I don't know, people power or something if you're a left-wing conspiracy guy.
Right. Yeah, they can't go full China because of a constitution, because it stopped China from doing that when they had a constitution.
Well, and I love this whole thing now of like people. I saw this guy on Twitter today. I wish I had bookmarked it because this tweet was just whack. But it was like this one random guy thinks that China is gonna like come in and invade the U.S. like Red Dawn style, basically.
Yeah,
I wish they would try.
That would be the best scenario for us, actually, because that's the scenario where they get their ass kicked the worst.
Yeah.
Y'all's a whole ocean away. And like that's a long way to go just to get these nuts.
Yeah. Just to find that gun behind every blade of grass, it seems like a stretch.
Well, it's like everyone wants to talk about how shitty our economy is, and granted, we're not doing very well. I admit that, but
relatively, we're still the best economy in the world, though. Just so people don't forget to put that into perspective. Like our economy is still double everybody else's.
The fact is that like America's like pretty screwed. If it wasn't for the rest of the world, it's way, 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 way worse off.
Right.
Like we are screwed. The rest of the world is doomed. You know what I mean? Like,
right. But it's important to remember too that like as you go down to a more localized level, like a lot of this shit matters a lot less. And this is why, like, the big thing to hammer home to people who, that maybe are undecided voters or, whatever, is look at, think back to your bank account in 2019. That's all you really got to do for most people. What was your finances like in 2019 and what are they today? And if you ask that question to most undecided voters, they will know the answer of who to vote for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm worse off despite a pay increase.
Same. Yeah. I make more money and I am worse off than I was in 2019.
Yeah. I mean, you feel that every time you go to the grocery store. I mean, I like before work to go to like a convenience store or Dollar General and get myself like a Coke and some M&Ms, right?
Mm.
And I ring that shit up and it says like $4. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking to myself, I remember when that was 95 cents and $1, right?
Yeah.
I'm not an old man. You know what I mean? That's very troubling, right?
Yeah, no, it's troubling when you go to McDonald's and
I was just going to say fast food, it's basically double what it was in 2019, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you used to be able to go to McDonald's and buy any size beverage for $1, right? So I would go in and get for breakfast and, on my way to class, and I would get like a steak, McMuffin, and then a Coke for $4 total and a hash brown. The whole meal was like $4. Now it's $4.19 for the sandwich alone.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Especially with the hike in egg prices, that's hit the market. Like the factory guys like McDonald's, like, they're not hit as hard, but you're still seeing that sandwich. If they used one egg in it, they're basically upcharging you for the whole fucking egg, like $1.25.
Yeah.
Whereas the egg used to be worth like 12 cents and now it's worth 10 times that. So they pass it on to the consumer. And again, if you remind most people who aren't rich, because people on the higher end of the economic spectrum don't know a lot of this shit necessarily. They have different problems with the economy, but anybody working or middle class, like, they're going to understand that more than anything else. And the only thing that seems to override that is like the status signaling, virtue signaling stuff. Because even the Democrats bitch about the economy.
Yeah, but see, that's the other interesting thing. Have you noticed that? I mean, and I guess this has kind of always been the case, but the people who are always talking out the virtue signaling stuff, like the the trans rights thing and the 50
Diversity,
70
yeah.
genders, they're all the rich, like, liberal arts students and academics living in Manhattan who make 300,000 plus.
I'll say around
year.
here, the type of people that are like that around here, and I'm in Massachusetts, it's fairly blue. I'm in a red county, but that doesn't matter. We still have their liberals, right? And I see them, they're at the school. There's a lady across the way that has a Black Lives Matter sign in her yard. And that's because, like, Black people live in my gated community. And so she put it out there so they see it as they're coming and going. And I'll tell you exactly what they think of it, because we have barbecues and shit and we talk, and they're like, yeah, that lady has never had a Black person in her house. Bet on it.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't too. She'd get uncomfortable. She wouldn't invite them over for fucking beers, but she has to have her sign out front. And those type of people, they're like middle to upper middle class. Like, they're not hurting for money to where it's okay for them to say, let's tank the economy in order for diversity or whatever, because it makes me feel like a moral person.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the actual Black people that they say they're trying to help with are the ones that are hurt the worst.
Yes, absolutely. By all of their policies across the board, not just some of them, right?
Well,
Fucking The anti-police policies are hurting them. The criminal justice reform policies are hurting them. The welfare policies are hurting them. The incentives that the government gives to have a single mother household as opposed to a 2-parent household are hurting the Black family. All of these policies come from these middle class, usually women, usually between 35 and 50, right? Like you could the soccer moms, let's face it, the soccer moms are the left-wing virtue signalers. There's no way around it.
If you care about, justice reform and whatnot, which president passed like the most sweeping justice reform?
Nixon, but second to that was Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump, right? And we're not talking about the getting rid of all bail reform, okay? Right. We're talking about actual reform. What president had a plan to bring business into the inner cities, which are usually predominantly Black?
The Platinum Plan. And I'll tell you this, Black people haven't forgotten about the Platinum Plan. And again, I'm gonna make this prediction, and if I eat my words, so be it. But say Trump wins the primary, goes up against Biden. That's what I think is gonna happen, right? Biden seems intent on running, and there's not much they could do to stop him, besides like ruining his reputation from the left. But say that happens, I'm going to make the estimation that Donald Trump in 2016 got 8% of the Black vote. In 2020, he got 18% of the Black vote. I imagine it's going to be closer to 23 or 24% for 2024. And it's specifically because so many of them remember, A, I had more money in 2019, and B, the Platinum Plan. They remember that. You'll see them talk. If you go on Black Twitter, you'll see them talking about the Platinum Plan all the time and how it was a better deal than what Biden's Build Back Better has not been a good deal for the Black community.
Yeah, well, and also too, I mean, because I go on Black Twitter somewhat too, Biden's the one that is really like forcing more of like the pro-vaccine propaganda on people, which
without any respect to their history with forced vaccines. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I pointed that out from the beginning. Is like, if there's any community in this country that has a pretty solid reasoning for saying, I don't want to just stick a needle in my arm because the government says so, it's the Black community, because the Tuskegee experiment is still in living memory. Like, you could say to a young Black kid today, your great grandfather died from this, right? Like that, it's in living memory. It's not that far in the history.
Right.
And to completely like ignore that, no, it's completely reasonable for them to have been skeptical about this. And it was your job to sell them on it. And instead of doing that, you put these mandates in place. I don't know. God, I can't think of his name. There's a young Black guy who was an actor in the Broadway scene. He actually had Mr. Medicare on his podcast a couple months ago. And he talks about Clifton Duncan, I think his name is.
Yeah, Clifton Duncan. That's actually one of the guys who I would like to try and get on.
I think that would be some point interesting, because his takes on the entertainment industry and the reaction to COVID in New York in particular. I mean, he's as insider as it gets for that. So, he also talks a lot about how affirmative action both gave him his career, but also fucked him.
I've actually talked to actors, because I have friends who are in New York, and they've told me about all that stuff. But the thing of it is none of them want to come on this show, because
he speaks for a lot of people that he comes out because he's already blacklisted, right? And the thing is if you're in that system, let's say you dedicated your life to being an actor, you went to school for it, you've had 20 years, not even an actor, right? Maybe you do the fucking lights or whatever, and you agree with him, but you still work there, you can't say it, right? So it's good to have somebody like him speaking up on behalf of these issues, because not everybody in show business is a raging leftist. The problem is if you're not, you have to hide it.
Yeah, but Ben Shapiro actually wrote a pretty good book on that, like before he got super famous. I think it's like called Prime. Oh yeah, it's called Primetime Propaganda, and it's he went. It was his story of like how he tried to basically become like an actor, or no, I think a screenwriter, and they wouldn't reject him not because he was Jewish, but because he was an Orthodox Jew, and also because he's conservative.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and we see what happens when actors come out with any right-leaning beliefs. Dean Cain has a harder time finding work than he used to. What's her face got fired from the Star Wars show, The Mandalorian. There,
Gina
Gina
Carano.
Carano.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's obvious what happens, or even lesser things. I was actually talking about this with Smuly not that long ago, where you got a guy like Woody Harrelson, who is he's a left leaning ANCAP, right? And he always has been, and he's been very vocal about that. There's a great interview with him talking about his ANCAP beliefs in relation to the Hunger Games films, which he was in, and literally eviscerating communism in this thing. So they were shocked that this guy who is an ANCAP would get on Saturday Night Live and comment about, lockdowns or mask mandates, because how dare you? This is the sacred halls of Hollywood. You're not allowed to have that opinion.
Yeah, well, like
And
even
left-wing ANCAP is a pretty safe position in modern society because everybody thinks it's weird, but nobody takes you seriously politically, right? So you could be a left-wing ANCAP and be on the libertine side of things, and leftists will usually leave you alone. But he made the mistake. He spoke up against the current thing, the COVID establishment, the Church of COVID, as it were.
Well, have you noticed that like Bill Burr used to kind of be like semi, like I wouldn't say he was fully based, but he used to make fun of the woke stuff, right? And then he got on Netflix and started to like bow down to more of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what they were hoping for with Dave Chappelle. But Dave Chappelle draws too much money for them to just straight up drop him, so they can't really bully Chappelle. But Chappelle's another one, right? Chappelle has some very un-PC beliefs, and Chappelle is absolutely a leftist. He's like a neolib.
Yeah.
And but it's a step too far now, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, same thing. I think the only reason why Chris Rock was allowed to get away with some of the shit that he got away with was because of the Will Smith incident. I think they kind of gave him carte blanche to do what he wanted because of that incident. But had that slap not happened, I don't think he would have been able to make those jokes that he did.
Well, I have another theory regarding him. It's in the same vein. So like Rob Schneider, right? Everybody, famously in all the Adam Sandler flicks, good friends with Adam Sandler, David Spade, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart is in this group. It's a group of guys that have been together in Hollywood doing comedy since SNL in the 80s and 90s, right? And they know each other really well. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Rob Schneider, who came out as a conservative leaning libertarian, like a Rand Paul kind of guy, I have a feeling he represents a lot of them. Yeah, because the thing about Adam Sandler that people might not know, he's dropped completely out of the Hollywood scene. He does movies specifically and exclusively for Netflix now, so that he doesn't have to work in Hollywood. Now, he's never said it had anything to do with politics, but it's a reasonable suspicion that if Rob Schneider is this strong on politics, and if Chris Rock feels as strongly as he does about cancel culture, the idea that David Spade and all of these other guys, Kevin Smith and on and on and on, all those guys have a similar belief system is not actually that far-fetched, and it would make sense why we don't know that they do, because they're desperate to hide it.
Well, it's funny, we're talking about like podcasting and like my anniversary of podcasts. Like one of the podcasts I discovered early on I loved, like around 2010 when YouTube started kind of doing podcasts, was Norm Macdonald Live.
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald Live, like Norm was one of those people who was also like conservative libertarianish. I mean, he out and out admitted on The View in the 90s that he liked George Bush, and said that he was a swell guy, and he got booed.
Well, as opposed to the murderer.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah.
He just wanted to get the murder out of the way.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Norm Macdonald is he's so prolific as a writer, and he's so funny that they were willing to let him be the token conservative guy. Because you look at like this, and people think of Norm Macdonald and they'll talk about his stand-up till they're blue in the face. But he was the head writer for Roseanne. He was the head writer for I don't want to give him credit for a bunch of shows that he didn't write, but I know he wrote a lot of the more popular TV shows in the 90s and early 2000s.
He was the head. Well, back when Dennis Miller did Weekend Update, like a lot of those jokes that Dennis did in the 80s were actually Norm's jokes.
Yeah, which is why he stepped into the chair afterwards and is probably the most iconic in that role.
Yeah.
He's the first one anyone thinks of with Weekend Update, which, man, like imagine surpassing Dennis Miller in that role, but he definitely did in the minds of most people.
Yeah.
But him and Dennis Miller, again, Dennis Miller is another one that was very prolific, right? And I think that's why they got a pass, as they were allowed to be the token conservative. You're not allowed to be token conservative anymore, though.
Well, yeah.
You used to be.
Well, and Dennis... I could even probably get someone to email him. Like, the thing with that too is like Dennis isn't even like all that right wing. Dennis is pretty much like straight libertarian, basically, where he's like, you can basically fuck anyone who you want to if you're an adult, and it's not any of my business. And if you want to do, if you want to smoke pot, that's fine. Just don't.
I can't believe that's your opinion, dude. Like, I don't know if I can hang out with you anymore. Yeah, like, that was your opinion, dude? I don't know if I can help you with this show now.
I'm gonna live and let live. What the fuck?
Live and let live. That's a little too... But yeah, that's the equivalent of being right wing in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and they're allowed... Notice now, though, I've seen attacks on Adam Sandler. I've seen attacks on Chris Rock. I've seen attacks on all of those guys because Rob Schneider came out on Fox News, and now he does recurring guest spots on there. Like, everybody else is making the same assumption I am, that they probably share. I'll say this. I don't think Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, and Rob Schneider have the same exact politics, but I bet you they're in a similar spot on the spectrum.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't even know if like if they're like hardcore, conservative either. But I
think you're onto something there. I think they're not very political, but they know that the politics they do have are outside the mainstream, and that's why they work outside of mainstream Hollywood now.
Well, and then the other thing too, and we saw this with Ricky Gervais too, where like, well, we even saw this with Jerry Seinfeld. Woke people are so offended by comedy that Jerry Seinfeld, whose comedy is essentially about laundry and like socks and the most milquetoast mundane thing. He can't perform at college campuses anymore because
I believe it.
There is a God.
Wow. Seinfeld, yeah, I can imagine they'll have signs that say Seinfeld is a Nazi, right?
Well, like
they'll do it without a hint of irony.
Has Garfield been canceled yet?
Dilbert is now like the fucking face of white supremacy. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, are we to the point where Garfield is too edgy, dude. Can't have Garfield.
Well, yeah, because fat
Think
shaming.
of the they thems,
Pro-
okay? Think of the they thems. We gotta ban your music. We gotta ban your stuff. You know, won't somebody think of the they thems? Won't somebody think of the zimzers?
You know what's funny about the pronoun thing? This is something I haven't talked about, but since we're talking about broadcasting for a long time. So when I was in terrestrial radio, like actual, radio, clear channel communications and all that, one of the things that they beat into you is not using pronouns as much as possible. And the reason for that is because it makes a sentence very murky when you're trying to express something only through audio, right? So like if I say, well, he said to him that she said to her, it makes it muddy and you don't know necessarily who I'm talking about. So like the traditional like mainstream media, thing to hammer home into you from like 101 class level is pronouns, right? Don't use pronouns, use proper names. Because if you use a proper name, suddenly, well, Sam said to Smuly makes a lot more sense than he said to him, right? And then to hear pronouns come up in like mainstream, like national discourse, all I can hear is my old general manager from the radio station yelling in my headset, pronouns, come on.
really, really. So they were even against pronouns then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, because it's they're so vague in the context. Another one, Vince McMahon is actually famous for the same thing, yelling in his commentator's ears, pronouns, pal. It's actually like a meme of Vince McMahon, and it's the same reasoning. If you say, oh, he just gave him a pile driver, well, if you're just listening and not watching, you don't know which one gave which one the pile driver, right? They're both he.
Oh yeah, that makes sense at least.
Yeah,
So
no,
I guess,
it's a very practical thing to say. Don't use pronouns, use proper names, so that people don't get confused when they're listening to you. But then to hear the thing is now they want you to use more pronouns. They want you to use new made up pronouns, and that to me, it's like going against the cardinal sin because it makes everything more confusing.
Yeah, well, like some of these.
Zim gave Zer a fucking pile driver, bro.
Well, them. I mean, think about you've got they, them. I mean, there's multiple.
Yeah. Well, again, the pile driver example is perfect for this. They gave him a pile driver. Wait, so there was two people in the match against him? What's going on?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, pronouns are actually like immensely important to English as a language in how we communicate casually with each other, and that's why the left is focused on it because they know that.
Well, and think about how it's affected Sam, right? Like because Sam he can't see, and so like somebody comes up, they speak in a deep voice, he says him, and they go, "Oh no, you pronoun me." That's why he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he's in a wheelchair because he can't see, motherfucker.
Well, no, he mispronounced somebody. Now he's in a wheelchair.
True.
Modern.
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, think of this. Like English is the only language where this gender shit really exists. Like it doesn't really exist in any of the Latin languages at all. In fact,
no, because they're gendered. But that's the thing is they try. These people are so up their own ass and think they're the center of the goddamn universe that they want to change Spanish. They want to change, I haven't seen them go on any other Romance languages, but I have seen them say to Spanish people to stop using gendered language. And it's like, bro, then they can't talk. What are you doing?
You think they would ever say that to Portuguese speakers? I'm not so convinced.
Yeah, no, like I actually, so I have a neighbor who came over here from Cuba, right? And he's probably in his 50s now, but he asked me just the other day. He's like, Sam, he's like, hey man, can you explain this this gender neutral language or whatever the fuck? And I'm like, what? He's like, well, my daughter came home from college and like she started to explain all this like they them stuff, and it make no sense to me, man, because we speak with with pronoun with like he him and she her, so
Well,
like
not only that, like words themselves have gender in
right,
Spanish.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like everything's gendered, and it has nothing to do with its fucking genitals, because obviously the store doesn't have a dick or a pussy. It's a store, but somehow it's masculine. What are you gonna do?
Right.
It's just somebody arbitrarily decided that, and that's the language that everybody speaks. And if you ask them to change it all, unlike us, some Americans, yeah, look, white people, we really don't want to hurt people's feelings as a general rule. We're more than willing to do something that seems reasonable to not hurt somebody else's feelings. But that's not true of every group of people, for sure.
Well, it's
I mean, imagine them trying to push this stuff on the Chinese. They just won't get very far.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
the Chinese, they freaking censor black people out of movie posters and shit.
Yeah, no, and then try any of this shit in the Middle East, and you'll just get a fucking beheaded for it.
God, like, dude, like I don't have enough money to go there. Like, stop. Like, don't say stuff like that in front of me, because I mean, it makes me want to spend money on a plane ticket. I just don't have the money for,
Well, I mean, where would you want to go in the Middle East? That's the $1 million question.
Wherever you just said.
I'm going to step away for a moment. I shall return.
All right, let's not linger on the joke. Let's not have dead air. Go.
Yeah, so I mean this all came back, this all kind of circles back to, I'm going to circle back just like Jen Psaki. No. We're going to circle back to I mean, all this shit is basically, I think, going to make it so that Trump wins in a landslide.
Okay.
I mean that's what he really needs to do, right? He needs to win in a landslide.
I mean, it remains to be seen. I mean, he received more votes the second time than he did the first time, and so one could say that trend might continue. The problem is that the Democrats received more votes than they did last time, and you can say what you want, but I think a substantial number of people did go out and vote for him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Who knows how much fraud there really was or whatever. It's, you have a high, you have a low estimate. It's kind of one of those things where to catch it all would be unlikely, right? So any amount of it that you would catch, would be a subset of it for sure.
Well, the thing is, Republicans did make the mistake of not voting by mail like they should.
Yeah. Look, man, any way that's within the law that you can, further your aims, you should take. And, I don't know the election rules for all the states, but hey, I mean, if you got a paper ballot, make sure that your family members are doing it. Don't do it for them. That'd be illegal, but,
yeah,
remind everybody, hey, it's on the counter, whatever, do your little part. Go to the polling place, volunteer. If they try to kick you out, refuse, demand the sheriff, like having someone there that has courage, is willing to actually do something to further their goals is going to be a lot better, because the way most people interact with power, the way they interact with politics, it's equivalent to like what porn is to sex, That's what you are to real power.
I like it.
Most of it's door knocking, most of it's slow, most of it is the long game, but that's what you have to do. You have to give up these ridiculous, childish things. You gotta get for
Well,
real. You gotta get serious.
one of the things I was doing a lot of during the 2020 election was I wasn't door knocking, but I did call people and remind them to
Yeah,
vote. So
I did door knocking, bro.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I worked for the campaign. I worked to further the campaign's goals because I believed in it, and I still do.
oh yeah.
You
Well,
know,
well
and
that
sometimes it
is
ain't so good. Sometimes it ain't so bad. You know.
that is one thing that pisses me off about the Q-tards is the Q-tards were the ones saying that your vote doesn't matter because all of the machines are rigged anyway, so why bother? And it's like that's that's a defeatist attitude. So, and also, how is trusting the plan worked out for you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just don't believe in ridiculous stuff. And I mean, to a degree, it's like I don't blame individuals for it so much. Um, but like ultimately, you're a problem. Ultimately, you're my political enemy if you're just going to believe in wild nonsense that can't be verified. There's no way that I won't end up opposing you in some manner because um, you're just not speaking the truth. You're just being incoherent, and that's harmful to my ends, right? Inherently.
Yeah, that's just it. Like, if QAnon like had any evidence for any of what they claim, then why not just bring it up, right?
Yeah,
It's just
I'm.
it's a never ending clusterfuck of you
I just
know
can't really put that to the side if that is your like hill to die on. You know, if you still believe in that to that degree, you know, we really can't do much together.
yeah, no, I mean, and like honestly, I think pretty much like the MAG movement has purged like a lot of those people, and rightly so because
Uh, I mean, there are a minority of people, luckily, but I encounter these people because in online spaces, right? I
oh
encounter
yeah,
these conspiracy people,
yeah,
and just their logic is flawed. It's like ultimately, if I got my way, right? If we had a bunch of sovereign institutions that are fact checking and going over each other's contents, and like an actual marketplace of ideas, those kind of people are ultimately going to be at odds with me because I am not going to believe in their unsubstantiated bullshit, right?
yeah.
Like at the end of the day, if I get my way in my ideal world, you would just call me part of the conspiracy, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I used to be called that a bunch, actually. Like I've been accused of being a part of the conspiracy because I like
Yeah,
have, you know, I'm not an idiot and I speak somewhat eloquently.
yeah,
So, but I mean, another part of this whole thing is I think like a lot of those conspiracy theorists, I think they say a lot of that shit too, not necessarily because they believe in all of it, but mostly because they just want to get attention, right? Because we're no longer allowed on social media just to have conversations. In order to get traction,
okay,
everyone needs to say something like outrageous.
I
So
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, they always walk it back. They're always like, oh, well, here's some evidence. And if it's like, okay, before I click on this, like, this isn't nonsense. This is actually evidence of what you said. And it never is. It never is.
well, there will be in a lot of these times on like these conspiracy theory news website websites, it'll be like, is J like a perfect example would be like, is JFK Jr. still alive? Question mark, and that's the headline. You click on that, scroll to the bottom. Turns out that he isn't alive. But we just got you to read this whole article, for ad revenue. So yeah. And that's done with like clickbait articles. So
Yeah, well, it's the Tim Pool problem, right? It's like ultimately you're my enemy because I'm trying to do stuff that's real. I'm trying to give us a path to like gain political power and achieve things. And if you're walking around talking about nonsense, you're discrediting what I believe in, right? You're making us uncool.
right.
So I mean, ultimately, that's why these people are my enemy. There's no way around it. I wish it wasn't the case, right?
Yeah. So, oh, okay. Well, I just got a DM from Apex that I guess his computer isn't working and he can't use Melon on his phone. So unfortunately, he won't be coming, but I think he is watching. But we'll get you on at some other time, Apex, hopefully. So
I've been keeping an eye. There's been at least 30 people watching through most of the show tonight on Rumble, at least. Killing it over here. Thanks to everybody who's come out to support the show.
But were you able to hear my point about the conspiracy people ultimately being my enemy?
I was.
I had stepped away for that, but I could imagine. I know why.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, if I got my way and there's a bunch of different institutions that are sovereign, that are not like just being torn down by the woke mob, they're going to come to the conclusion that these conspiracy tards are wrong. And then they're going to say that it's all part of the conspiracy and that I am a conspirator of like the New World Order or whatever, right?
Right. Inevitably, if we take power, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Even the softest of soft power. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also argue that my thing with the conspiracy theory stuff and like the Nick Fuentes side of things, like the anti-Semitism and shit, it's literally a minefield to get young conservative leaving men off of the battlefield. Because if you get too heavy into conspiracy shit, you might think you sound really reasonable, but everybody talking to you doesn't, and they are very aware of this. Likewise with the anti-Semitism stuff, no matter how reasonable it sounds to you, the first time you try and give that speech about why you should hate Jews to like a normie, they're not going to respond well to it. And it does take you from being maybe 18, maybe even as young as 15, some of these kids, and you are now off the playing field, but you are more political than you've ever been in your life. And this is why it ends to bad results so often.
I am sorry to interrupt, but we have a very special guest, he just disappeared, but maybe he'll come back on. We had a special guest popping in. And there he is.
Meds. Oh, okay, he's real.
Ladies and gentlemen,
is Apex in the room with us right now?
The one and only.
Damn, that would have been way funnier if I just kept popping in and leaving before he could pull me in. Make Sammy's make believe friend. Hi, buddy. How you doing, guys?
How you been, man?
How are you doing? Long time no see.
Well, long time no chat, but yeah, I'm doing okay, man. Just keeping my head above water. You guys have been doing great work in my absence. I'm happy to see it.
That's good.
Yeah, it's weird that I took a hiatus and then YouTube was like, or whoever was like, yeah, you know what, Sammy, he's been on YouTube for 14 years. Let's get him out of here.
Yeah, I was just commenting like the kind of like really milk toast COVID conversation we had earlier, which didn't endorse any quote unquote misinformation, would still have been not okay. Like I feel like it's really freed us up. Like the conversations with not having to worry about that have been a lot more fruitful, I think.
Yeah.
Well, what I found most interesting about that is, I mean, Sammy knows better than anybody, or at least as well as anybody, that I mean, I had no filter on the COVID conversation or many other things in the heat of it. We got through 2 years of almost every show talking shit about the vaccines and the masks and everything else that went along with it, and nothing ever came of it. You know, like
it does seem to be that people like, and we've been trying to actively not go into it, but it does seem like people were target mass flagging Sam in relation maybe to his appearances on other shows or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just want to say to those people, like, you did us a favor because we're having way more fun. So thanks.
Yeah, nobody's having more fun than us, right, Sammy?
We're also getting way more viewers on.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was gonna say.
And Odyssey too.
I mean, we've been shilling it out. People respond. People are clicking on the links. Things are getting hype. We got great guests stacked up.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy to see you guys doing work for Sammy.
Nobody deserves it more than Sam, right? And I've been saying that, and it sounds fucking corny, but it's true. Like, this guy works his ass off.
It's gonna be you and me, Sam. You and me.
Well,
1,000 episodes. You and me.
Yeah.
Sam.
Interestingly, I kind of expected the bump in viewership just from the Kurt Doolittle episode because his fans would be likely to check it out just because it was him. But the interesting thing to me is our Monday shows are doing 100 times what they did on YouTube. Fucking the interview with Craig, the chemical engineer. If anybody missed that, they talked in depth about some of the issues surrounding the train derailment in Ohio. It's one of the most interesting conversations I've heard this year. I highly recommend it. That was doing numbers as well. Everything was doing numbers as soon as we got off YouTube. It's like, is YouTube even relevant anymore? Certainly not to people looking for this kind of content.
Well, and I've also heard that channels are getting taken down now for just talking about the train derailment.
That wouldn't surprise. You know what I think it is? I do think YouTube's been such a, Google and YouTube and shit has been such a monopoly for so long on this stuff that I think that, obviously it's the most easily accessible, generally speaking, for like people to just post shit on the internet. But that's not even true anymore, but because they've had,
they were the first ones. You're right. They were the first ones to make it easy for the majority of people to upload video content, specifically live content as well. But now there's so many other choices, so many competitors that you can just take your pick. And you're right. What you're saying there is they don't know how to compete because they've never had to.
Well, right. And I think YouTube is like an adjective now, and has been for the past couple of years. Even if I don't know. I guess it's different for TikTok or Instagram or whatever. But like just the general, I'm a YouTuber, seems to be like I don't know. It's like it's become pervasive because they held it down for so long.
Yeah,
that people don't even consider these alternatives as being valid.
A strange example to back up what you're saying. When the Mexican police entered Ethan Ralph's house because they were called on him, he told them his job was YouTuber. And because it's so ubiquitous, the first thing that the Mexican cop says is, "What's your channel link?"
Perfect.
Right. And of course, Ralph didn't have a channel link. And so it made his story about, his story was, I'm a live streamer, basically, right? But they didn't get that. So because he said YouTuber, they're instantly suspicious now because why can't you just link me your YouTube channel then?
100%. But I mean, it speaks to, it speaks to my point. Ralph being, the kind of person that he is. I mean, it's just, he thought it was a more acceptable answer, more easily understood. And in a sense, he's right. He's not on YouTube, but he's doing what YouTubers do, just not on YouTube.
To be fair to him, and I try not to, but to be fair to him, he did start with saying he's a live streamer, and I think there was a bit of a barrier of language involved as well.
Right.
But it just struck me as funny as he said, "I'm a YouTuber," and they're like, they understood that. They knew, okay, yeah, that's a job. So where's your channel? Because if you're a YouTuber, you can link the channel. He's like, "Oh, I'm on this other website," and they're like, "I don't know about you."
Yeah,
but
we need
the fact is that's going to become more and more common. Is like Sam's version. He says he's a podcaster, right? Because he doesn't have to say you. Because we've considered making another channel, but what's the point if he's in ban evasion? It's my thought on it, and what I said in we had these kind of debates was, it's unprofessional, right? If we're trying to present this as a professional show, it's kind of unprofessional to go try to be where you're not welcome, right? If we're not welcome on YouTube, fuck them. Like Rumble's been pretty good to us. Odyssey's been pretty good to us.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I think the more people do exactly like you're doing and say, you know what? No, I mean, just because YouTube is the easy, like you're right, you could do like a Keemstar and one of us could start a new channel that's it's just the same thing, but just under a different ownership, and just give it all to Sam for Sam to do his thing. Like, yeah,
I'm not even opposed to doing something like that. I actually am. I'm preparing a channel for something like that. But what we're going to use it for is clips, and I'm going to run the channel. I'm not banned, so it's perfectly fine. And we're just going to put up clips from the show to help promote it.
Exactly. Perfect.
But the idea that we would put the show on a platform we're not welcome, well, it's like if we're not welcome here, then fuck you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We can get viewers on Rumble. We can get viewers on Odyssey. Sam's always gotten viewers on fucking iTunes and Spotify. So
right.
Are you the fucking de facto monopoly anymore, Google?
Well,
especially when YouTube has literally never posted a profit in its entire existence, to continue to compete with companies that do actually post profits that do the same thing, they're going to have to change. And it seems their change was to ban more people. Now they have the creator on creator harassment policy, which basically bans my show outright.
Yeah. Don't make fun of other YouTubers now.
Yeah, and it's they literally just jacked it wholesale from Twitch. It's even written the same way, and it works out on Twitch about as well as you'd fucking think. That people get suspended and banned all the time for making a joke with their buddy on while they're playing a game and shit. So,
of course, you were gonna say something.
Creator harassment.
Yeah, no. Well, I was actually going to ask Apex, like, if he had heard about that and like what because I know that you, Apex. I mean, you've been, even if you haven't been in politics, you've been watching like gaming content and other stuff on the web for years. So this whole thing of like just banning creators for talking shit to each other to you must seem really weird.
Well, I mean, look, I think I'm like anything else.
You're not surprised by it, though. I can tell.
No, well, of course not. But I think like anything else, it's just, there's different sets of rules, really, when it comes down to it. The different sets of user guidelines or whatever for these huge creators, and they obviously get special privilege, and even remotely large creators. But the only thing that YouTube has left at all that should be any appeal to anybody is reach, because the number of people across the world that watch YouTube.
I'll add one other thing to that. It's the reach, you're right, but it's also the fucking like the established creators that are staying put, and they're reducing that pool all the time. Is the only reason I pointed out, as they ban these people for innocuous shit. Like for example, the creator on creator harassment. Well, you could absolutely apply that to all Chris Chan content, right? Because he's a creator. So are we gonna see some of these big Chris Chan channels get banned, like or even a guy like Turkey Tom who goes out of his way to try and follow all the rules, but he's talking about other creators,
right?
You know, where does the line get drawn, and how is enforcement done? And so far, what I've seen as in terms of enforcement is they're banning friends of mine who have small channels, and Big Keemstar still has drama time, right?
Of course, right, exactly. Yeah, they're weeding out I mean, it was built on a platform for people to be creative and build communities and shit. And now it's
It's
over
corporate.
time. Yeah, it's just become this fucking whoever makes us the most money. I mean, there's been a bunch of it's been happening pretty frequently for the
forget
last.
Google didn't start YouTube; they bought it, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But there's been a rash of, and it's been happening for quite a few years now. But there's a lot of big channels that have been getting hacked and like run crypto scams on their, like Linus Tech Tips is a fucking huge YouTuber.
I believe that's the biggest channel to be hacked through this shit so far. Yeah.
Right. I think so. But
if not, it's in the top 10 because Linus is fucking. Like I work in computers. Like watching Linus videos is like part of my job.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously a difference between the way they are going to deal with a channel like that versus a channel like Sam's. But the fact of the matter is, or the truth of it, whatever, is that, it is literally all about money. So if Sam's not making them money necessarily.
Did you see the Twitch thing on that actually, where they broke down how much it costs for the average streamer to host them? It costs them about $1,000 a month. Now that's Twitch's numbers, not YouTube's. So
to host
whatever.
An individual streamer?
For an individual streamer who streams an average of 8 hours 3 times a week, it costs them $1,000 to host that video content. So and that's why they say they have no problem banning smaller creators, because if you're not bringing in $1,000 a month, then you're costing them money.
Yeah,
and I bet you YouTube's metric and the way they look at it is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that when you look at it from a business perspective. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
That's what I was going to say too. Like as crazy as it may seem, like my mom actually had this theory that isn't too dissimilar to that, where when I was on Saturday's show, like, no one would really tune in for those. But then when I moved to Mondays and Wednesdays, like that was when I started instantly getting more views just based on that. And so
I knew that was a good idea.
That maybe like cost them more like her whole theory was that like I got kicked off because I was using like too much bandwidth of YouTube.
Yeah, but I think that's a factor when they look at a channel that's got small numbers. I will actually say though, they're wrong. What the problem YouTube has, if the bans are kind of a way to get rid of small creators, which I think they are, their problem then is that they're actually just under monetizing small creators. And hear me out. For the people that are skeptical of that. How many super chats can you see somebody get who has maybe 100 viewers? Or even tonight, Sam got a couple super chats or whatever, and he's got 30 something people watching. Like if they were to do super chats in a way through the official YouTube system that didn't take a massive cut of every fucking one and made creators feel comfortable with it, they would be making more off of these small channels than I think they ever anticipated. And it's simply because the real doomsday, the real apocalypse coming for YouTube is that the ad-supported model of the internet is dying.
Yeah.
It's their whole model. And they've built this beautiful model of super chats. One of the things people can't figure out why Jim continued to stay on YouTube and use the super chat system.
Yeah.
And it's really obvious when you think about it, but every other system from Streamlabs, Stream Elements to Power Chat or anything else, you're using PayPal and it gives your complete docs to the other party. Or maybe not your complete docs, but enough of it that Ethan Ralph is a perfect example. He uses it to dox people when they say something he doesn't like.
Right.
And this is a concern that people have, or just, hey, I have an edgy opinion and I like this guy, Mr. Medicare, who's a little edgy, right? I don't want to lose my job over it. So they use the super chat system. And the only fucking Achilles heel in that is that because Jim's a larger creator than most of us in this sphere, he's able to pull in lots of it to offset that cut that YouTube takes to make it worthwhile for him. But for a lot of people, that's not the case. And that's why they use Stream Elements. That's why they use Streamlabs. That's why they use all these different payment processors that take less of a cut. And that's why even fucking Andy Worski and PPP were using fucking Power Chat, which is literally owned by a fucking federal informant.
Yeah.
Because it didn't take as big of a cut. So they thought, well, we'll get more money. And they put their audience. And I called Andy Worski on this directly on Twitter. Anybody wants to see, he's blocked me now. But I called him on it and I said, that's fucked up. You put your audience at risk and you're not even going to take responsibility for it or say, yeah, this was a boneheaded fucking move. But is it more boneheaded than using PayPal through Streamlabs? I don't know. Obviously, somebody like Sam's not going to dox you if you fucking send him money. Somebody like Ethan Ralph is, so you got to use your own judgment. But YouTube's system being more anonymous makes it much more desirable.
Is it? Correct me if I'm wrong though, but like the last time I read Streamlabs and PayPal's like TOS, like those two things, like basically doxing your viewers is against TOS.
Of course
it is. It is against the terms of service. However, that's not gonna necessarily like undo the damage if it happens. And I've seen people do it through those methods as well. You could say Power Chat is its own thing, Baked Alaska owns it, whatever, and that's why it's shady. But I've seen people who use Streamlabs and Stream Elements do it too. Christopher Cantwell used people that bought T-shirts from him to dox them. Years ago.
Well, yeah, that's why people are losing their. That's why people lose their PayPals a lot of the time, though. Too, I imagine.
Yeah, you'd lose your PayPal, but here's the thing. Let's say you did dox somebody, right? You lose your PayPal. They're still doxed, right? It doesn't undo the damage. And especially if you're in a vulnerable position where that could cost you your job, like maybe you have an edgy political opinion or something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
I was going to ask you fellas if either... I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I was just going to say it's an interesting situation for sure. Anyway, what were you saying?
I was just curious if either of you... we're on Odyssey right now, right?
We're on Odyssey and Rumble.
Odyssey and Rumble. Do they either or both of them have like a super chat function?
Yes, they both do.
And are they basically what we are comparable or better or worse than what we were just describing YouTube has had in their super chat function?
If you combine the both of them, they have everything that you'd want from YouTube. Unfortunately, there's I have little gripes with Rumble on the back end. It's not the most user friendly back end I've ever seen. In Odyssey, there's so the way in which live streams work on Odyssey is a bit weird on the back end. Again, it's all back end stuff. But in terms of the super chats, which was your actual question that I completely steered away from,
it's fine.
They actually take less of a cut, and I believe Rumble's does have the anonymous kind of function the way YouTube's does. I'm certain of it actually.
But Odyssey doesn't.
Odyssey uses crypto. So it does have that but it's their built-in. This is one of the things I don't like. I don't like sites that have a built-in crypto like that.
Right.
It was my same complaint with DLive because it creates a perverse incentive for somebody to manipulate the crypto on the other end, which is exactly what happened with DLive, by the way.
Of course.
So, but Odyssey has not done anything to lose my trust over it yet. The one thing I don't like, though, on Odyssey is that you kind of have to use crypto to buy their crypto to super chat.
Well, hold on. I remember what feels like a year ago, seeing them tweet that they were going to be exchanging in U.S., including U.S. dollars.
It may be. I haven't attempted to do that in several months, to be fair.
Well, I know that you can send. I know that you can send cash directly through
Yeah, they
Odyssey.
have a
Okay.
tip jar. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Rumble
That's
does.
kind of what I was getting at. And that
Rumbles
can be
is
done
Rumbles
anonymously, just like super chats on YouTube.
Rum,
Go ahead.
because it's in USD. I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know because I don't get super chats on Odyssey, right? So I don't know how much information it's giving on the back end. I would hope it's minimal. I mean, this is always a concern.
Yeah, it's very minimal. My one issue with Rumble in terms of super chats is it doesn't really tell you who sent the super chats on the back end.
Like the username that they chatted under or whatever.
It won't even do that on Rumble. So.
Yeah, to be fair to Rumble on this, their payment processor that they just created specifically for Rumble to be an alternative payment processor, it literally came online this week. So
yeah,
I'm not going to be too harsh on them for that. It's the same thing with Odyssey, is like they're working out kinks. Like I'm talking about my complaints, but to be fair to both platforms, they are consistently improving and listening to user feedback, which is something YouTube hasn't done in what, fucking 15 years?
Right. And that's what we were, sorry to cut you off, Sam, but real quick, that's kind of what we were just talking about, how YouTube has like this hegemony on the, I don't know if that's the right word, but
you nailed it. That's the right word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of stoned and I've worked all day. So, but yeah, no, they've had this, kind of stranglehold, and they've been doing it for so long. They were the first and the only for a long time. Maybe not the only.
Well,
only.
You look at the alternatives though, and none of them took fire, right? You got Daily Motion and Vimeo, and even BitChute. A lot of people like and use BitChute because they get banned off of YouTube, but I find that BitChute is trash. Like the back end is horrible.
I hate. Not a big fan.
I've had to upload the same video 6 times because it just says processing for like a year. Right. and it's that shit is annoying. I was really bullish on BitChute when it came out, but they have, they're always asking for money. They're always promising things like live streaming, and then they don't follow through on it. And I'm sure that there's reasoning behind that. I'm not in their like business meetings, but especially now where Rumble is a viable alternative, where Odyssey is a viable alternative to what BitChute is doing, and both of them do it with a much more. Again, I ripped on Rumble's back end as being very basic. It's still miles ahead of what BitChute has.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like Odyssey. Odyssey has seemed to be on the right trajectory from the time I found them. And I'm not a super techie guy. I definitely am not in computers. The laptop that currently I can't use, and why I'm talking to you guys on my phone, is a 2009 Samsung laptop model.
Yeah,
but
but you could navigate Odyssey like no problem, and that's what I mean. That's what we need.
My point is, as not a techie guy, as not a tech guy, like it is, I appreciate the steps they've taken and the face they put on, both on Twitter and seemingly on their, just their general, projection of themselves to the public. I don't know.
Well, what I like too is, also, and this is another thing that I kind of find interesting, is like looking at my numbers on both on like Rumble specifically with the whole Doolittle interview, is that video is close to like 200 views, and yet I only have like 28 subscribers on Rumble. Now I find that interesting because on YouTube, like the more subs you have, the more videos, like the more visibility your video gets, right? But that doesn't necessarily seem to be the case on
well, and once
Rumble.
you find that audience on YouTube, if you notice, people don't expand outside of it, right? If you find a niche on YouTube and you decide, I'm also going to do this. This is actually a Johnny Fox thing. Speaking of which, Johnny Fox will try and get every algorithm, right, and try and make something of himself, and he'll buy bots. And yes, I have evidence that he buys bots, by the way. I haven't done a stream on it yet, but he definitely does. But aside from that, so he's been doing the To Catch a Predator stuff where he commentates over old To Catch a Predator episodes. And he caught a little bit of an audience that way. But Johnny Fox being Johnny Fox, he gets bored of doing the same fucking content, and he thinks, well, I want to do video game stuff. So he'll just upload a shit ton of him playing video games on this channel that got successful because people came to watch To Catch a Predator. And shock of shocks, not only did those videos do horribly, but his main To Catch a Predator videos start doing less numbers.
Of course.
Because he found his niche, you know, and he could have built on that niche. Obviously, Johnny Fox is a bad example because he's, you know, retarded. But like,
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that sounds like typical absolute retard behavior on the internet. I mean, many such cases, right?
He's already changed. He did another channel where he was going to do tier lists because I guess he heard that was hot, and that didn't take off. So he's gone through several phases of what he thinks is going to catch fire and make him a big, because the reason I bring him up as an example, he's the perfect kind of example of a guy who thinks of YouTube as a lottery ticket. You know,
yeah.
I could speculate about his real life financial situation, but even by his own metrics, he says it's not doing too well.
Well,
and so he has to. He literally said on a recent episode he has to make YouTube. He has to make it big as a YouTuber because he has no alternatives, and it's terrible that content creation has this effect on people. In my opinion,
it is actually. You're right. It's more than terrible. It's like, it's literally tragic.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, Johnny Fox probably wouldn't be anything super special, but without this idea,
but he could have 50,000 subs and talk about what he wanted to talk about if he hadn't consistently fucked himself over.
And not even that, man. Like, aside from the content creation, he could have done something, you know, real. Like actual. True. Something, you know, he could have been a decent novelist. He could have just wrote a bunch of books and or built some houses, swung a fucking hammer, and made decent money, stayed in decent shape, and also wrote. But you know, you can do two. You can do more than one thing. You know,
I was just joking about this. That I said, oh, I do like 5 to 6 episodes of Cringe Coffee House a year. It's more than that. I do basically one a month. But my point is, it's the polar opposite of what you're describing here with Johnny Fox, right? Is like, my content creation is something I do when I have spare time for fun, because I don't.
It's a hobby, literally.
And outside of that, I'm out here working, being a dad, having a real life, and knowing people in my community. And this is why I come, I think, on the political side of things with takes that people don't hear, is because I go talk to normal fucking people who aren't obsessed with all this shit.
Wait, dude, I mean, you're describing like my literal, at least the atmosphere of my entry into this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, when I ended up in Sam's chat, I was making the most bullshit fucking screen recorded DU recorder recordings of Owen Benjamin, because he was someone that I occasionally watched while I did yard work, or listened to while I did yard work, or fucking was at the kids' soccer game or whatever. He was just one. He was in a rotation of a bunch of fucking content that I would listen to, and I joined on the fuck Owen train once I, saw the whole gummy incident, which, there's well-tread territory on this channel, in Sam's audience. But it was literally just it was a hobby. Like, I would be listening to Owen while fucking running a chainsaw, and he would say something. I would listen to him say a string of things, and then I would stop the chainsaw, rewind the video, turn on DU recorder, and just record some bullshit audio over, just like countering whatever he said. And I did a bunch of videos, but I did them all pretty well preoccupied. And of course, once shit got traction, I started to pay a little bit more attention to it and put a little more, bit more.
It feels good when people appreciate your work. And,
of course. Yeah.
I try never to count that out. It's like, look, like when I say, and Mersh was saying this in the videos that Sam showed me recently about Sam, of like, I just want to be, like, I don't want to be a super celebrity. And Mersh's thing on that, I'm sure you've seen it. It was interesting to me because he said, "Oh no, man, everyone is content with his lot in life or whatever." And it's like, that's because you, Mersh, like everybody else, sees content creation as a ticket to the fucking to the races, whereas a lot of us just see it as a hobby, and that's why
Mersh is another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that's why we're happy with. Bro, almost 200 people watched that Kurt Doolittle interview. That's fucking great because that's 200 people that listen to a really interesting guy. By the way, if you haven't watched it, just a little primer on who Kurt Doolittle is. He used to work at Microsoft. He's a fucking big tech CEO, and he's a philosopher, and he's one of the smartest people I personally have ever talked to. And it was really, man. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, but because we're friends with him, we got him to do this. And it's so packed with information. That 1 hour, I think it's one of the shorter episodes of Sam's show ever.
Yeah, it's like it just clocks in like at 59, like it clocks in at like 59 minutes and 58 seconds or something.
Nice.
And this is no disrespect to anything that's come before it. This is just a testament to how Kurt is. It's more packed with information than some 5-hour fucking streams, right?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. No. Hey, look, no. There's no disrespect taken because
I'm glad you were able to join us tonight. I really didn't want anybody in the audience to think there was like some beef or something. It's like Sam asked us to help out, and I was like, oh, well, what about Apex? And he's like, oh, well, he's got stuff going on right now, and I was like, yeah, we'll step in to help, sure.
And you know what? I can't thank you guys enough because that's one of the problems that I've had with this whole thing. I met Sam in the chat. I came upon him during this whole Owen thing in my early days, and God damn it, if the little handsome little shit isn't charming, and has been doing this thing for a long time, even when I met him. And back then it was just meandering. That was the shirtless Sam days when the chat would say, "Show feet and take your shirt off," and he did it. He did it all the time. And I'm like, dude, you need somebody to bounce off of. And maybe it's the narcissist in me or whatever. And I don't even think I suggested it, but I thought it would be fun. And so for the next 3 years or so, I missed very few shows. But I never had because I came into the whole thing as a hobby, I never had like what's the word? I just never had the gumption to get a show together. I had a job and I had a family and shit at the time. And even after I didn't, I couldn't focus enough energy on doing this because I didn't see it as a ladder. And unfortunately, I should have stepped away a long time ago, to be honest with you, for Sam's sake, because I feel like I've been a detriment for the last couple of years, although we've had a lot of fun.
I'll counter that. When you stepped away, it just so happened, me and my guys, and by the way, a little inside baseball here. It's not just me or even just Smuly helping out. We have a team actually of guys that are helping out now, and I just happen to have this team of guys, and we do shit, and we're always looking for a project. And when Sam approached me, so I had gone on the show with you guys before, and I knew what to expect, and I thought to myself, like, and I've also watched other episodes since then as well, because I just met Sam last year myself. And I had a crash course, and I still admit he's showing me like this merch stuff.
Dude, that's so good.
I use that one merch rant as like a promo for the show, and Mersh got mad. It's great. He got mad at his own thing that he said that makes him look like an asshole. Like, yeah, get real mad, dude. But what I noticed, and Mersh's thing hits the nail on the head too, because he's like, I was nice to you. Well, nobody's nicer than Sam. And Sam asks thoughtful questions and he makes people feel comfortable. And I was like, well, what if we got Sam to interview interesting people? And that's
what I've always wanted. Sorry to cut you off, but I've been so happy to see that. And unfortunately, I haven't had the time to watch a lot of these episodes, but I have seen you, Max, specifically putting in the effort on Twitter. And I would always retweet Sam's tweets and, quote tweet them and shit like that. But I never had enough faith in myself to do what you guys are doing. It's been a self-deprecation thing for me for a while, but Sam has kind of suffered as a result.
I'll go with this. Like I've already feel like I haven't fully come through, because this week I have a lot of musician guests. I want to bring on particularly rappers. I have one of which he's in prison right now for January 6th. And I can almost guarantee he'll come on and talk with us once he's out in about a month or so. And I have a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons related people because of the big. He had his friend on about a week ago, and I said I would come on, and then shit happened in my real life. I didn't get a chance. So now I've promised, hey, I'm gonna not only bring him on, I'm gonna bring one of these old school D&D guys I know on, because if he's into D&D, he'll appreciate it, and we can just have a chat like that. Unfortunately, it was like this week, everybody's like, no, can't make it.
Yeah, well, it also
shit happens though, right?
Yeah.
It also, I mean, I do kind of want to clarify for people, because I don't think people understand really how I got involved in the whole Owen thing the way I did. Basically, what happened was, once I endorsed Trump, a lot of the people who I was in contact with to do like interviews and whatnot, they all went never Trump. And then Owen at the time, or rather one of the people that Apex and I know, basically brought me into Owen's circle and wanted me to interview Owen as a potential guest and kind of do like a co-op of content on his stuff. And then Owen went just batshit insane, and so
didn't he talk? He talked shit about you too. It was another
I was just gonna say, it sounds to me like, again, and this seems to be a thing a lot of people have done, and that's why Apex stood by you when he did, is because a lot of people see you as a fucking token they can use to push their shit.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly. Thank you. That's a good point.
And nobody wants to fucking say it out loud because it might upset you or hurt your feelings. I know it won't. I know you fucking know it, and you get aggravated by that shit too.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking because it's so obvious when people do it, right? Oh yeah, we'll get you interviews and we'll take you up the ladder and we'll blah 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 blah. And meanwhile, they're shit talking you, right?
Yeah, especially the Mershes. The Mersh example is so blatant for anybody that that has some perspective on both sides. It's like, I was nice to you. I did you a favor. Dude, his whole
prison mentality. Am I right?
Wait, what mentality? I'm sorry.
Prison. That's prison mentality.
100%.
Everything's transactional, right?
I'll do this for you, and I think it's even beyond that, because it's like I'll be I don't know, man. I'll be nice to this fucking crippled, retarded fucking retard that you're do.
But clearly that's what I thought about all along, because I'm saying it.
Exactly. He didn't want anything to do with Sammy. He thought there was something he could gain. And when Sammy is involved with the people that are fucking digging their fucking thumbs into his rib cage, his fat fucking rib cage through the internet, end up on his streams. It's so funny, dude, because we'd talked shit about Mersh many times in previous shows, but the first time we have Alan Powell on the show, and we announce it as such. We did it on Twitter. You titled it, I think, as the Alan Powell episode, who is, not only Owen's worst nightmare, but apparently Mersh's as well.
Yeah. How dare you talk to somebody that I don't like?
Yeah. Even worse, how dare you talk to somebody that talks shit about me?
Yeah.
Effectively.
Well, and and the thing of it is too is in regards to the whole situation, you and I actually both knew Alan before we knew Mersh too. That was the weird thing is like, and Alan was another person who Mersh at first tried to kind of like suck up to because Alan was the one who made that like funny monster truck video of
no, it was dirt bikes. The dirt bike video, yeah. Oh, dude, that it still exists somewhere, dude. It is fucking so good.
Yeah,
it's a dirt bike, Max. It's a, like a professional dirt bike race. With like fucking 15 bikes on the track, but they're all like Owen sounds going. That's good. It's incredible. It's so good.
Yeah,
but yeah, it got struck down pretty much immediately pretty quickly by the, whoever runs the fucking professional dirt bike shit. But yeah.
Well, the thing is like I point out that people, see you as like a token that they can ride to some level of notoriety, and it's literally like why am I working with you? It has nothing to do with that. Why I work with you is because I've worked with a lot of guys over the years making content that I say, hey, could you do this thing? And then they don't fucking do it. Everything I've ever asked of you, you get done. Or if you can't do it, you fucking say so. And hey, I need help with fucking whatever. Like that to me goes a fucking million miles because I know people who are much more, I guess, able-bodied than you that won't fucking get off their ass to fucking do a damn thing.
Well, and part of that is because of what I do, like IRL, so to speak. Because like I have people who have like paid me to help like manage their websites or their blogs or whatnot professionally, right? So when they message me like, hey, can you update this page or something, like that's what I do. So
yeah, well, and you know how I delegate tasks like that. I explain why I need somebody to do it and all that fucking shit, and you just always fucking there to do it. And so for me, that kind of initiative, that kind of agency, goes a million miles. Plus, it's like I said, you're personable. You ask good questions, and I honestly thought to myself, we're wasting this guy dealing with these fucking locals.
Yeah. Look, hey, hold on. I want to pause you right there because I have been saying that from the time that I unfortunately introduced Sammy to the wider realm of locals, including Mr. Ralph.
Yeah. I heard you say it. We had this conversation off air the time I was on the show too, right? Is like, yeah, this is not like it brings fucking problems, but no real benefit.
No benefit, man. It's so well tread, and Sammy is and always has been better than making it like a focus. The Owen thing was different because that was a little more. And I mean, to be fair, even to be honest, in retrospect, even that went on way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing now is because I'm not opposed to going to war with people. But the beauty of him working with us is like me and Smuly, we're like experts at that kind of shit. And I have a platform. I have a thing separate from Sam's show where we could do that, right? But particularly like the idea from the get-go has been the Wednesday show to be the fucking the flagship where we get the big guests, and the Monday show be the new show, and then if he does a third show a week, just have fun. And
I love that. I fucking love that, dude. It's the one thing I've wished I could do. I've tried, and I just haven't had the mental capacity to do. Because I'm not a tech guy. I'm not even really an internet guy. You know what I mean? I'm I enjoy the shit out of what I get but I have also in recent years understood the detriment. There's a lot going on upstairs for me. Well, not that much because I'm fucking retarded, as most of the audience already knows.
Not everybody's cut out for the lol cow shit either. It's like I can dish it a lot better. Well, no, I can dish it as well as I can take it. I can dish it better than I can take it, and I can take quite a bit. That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I can take it a lot better than I can dish it. That's kind of part of my problem.
Yeah. I'm probably of the whole little team we got going now, I'm probably the best person for an attack, but I've been trying not to. The only attack I've gone I guess the Johnny Fox thing. Again, for anybody that doesn't know.
I don't even Johnny Fox.
Johnny Fox doxed my family and accused my brother of being a pedophile. So it's a bit personal. Like he also plagiarized my brother and claimed to write books that my brother had written at least most of, and all this other stuff. So that was personal. The Spurgic Samurai, the guy with the eye patch who doesn't wear a shirt.
He attacked
me. He attacked me. I did one show about all of his old cringe videos, and I felt like we were square at that point, and he hasn't come back since because I hit him a lot harder than he hit me. It's hard. Like, he called me ugly and old, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm like a 40-year-old married man. I don't care. It's like, what do you mean?
Right.
My wife thinks I'm hot, so I don't care what you think.
And that's like why that's part of the reason why Mersh got mad at me too, partial, was because like he got mad at my reaction video to him because like he was expecting me to like be hurt that he like insulted me, and I'm like, yeah.
Instead, you called him retarded, and you were right. That's why he hates you. That's what he's mad about.
He did like a how long of a show, and he cut he covered like 30 minutes of our show, and he did like a 2-hour show or something.
Yeah, he covered like half an hour of a show.
Yeah.
But he did like a whole 2-hour show, and I don't watch Nightwave, so I had no idea that he had done a whole show.
Everybody else in the world doesn't watch Nightwave.
Yeah, so I had no idea that he had even done a show on us until like the day after. And then when he called me crippled, and like I could tell he was expecting me to be like really hurt, but he got really mad when I was like, yeah, I'm crippled, so what? But
what is it that people think, though? Do they think that no one's ever said this kind of shit to you before, and it'll just crumble you like a fucking child?
They think that I live. They think that I live in a bubble, and that I'm super sheltered because that's the stereotype of disabled people, that we're all like super sheltered.
Yeah, which is not my experience at all. But
no, they don't realize that like when I was in junior high, like my friends and I would all call each other like the worst nicknames, on like a daily basis.
I actually have a good family friend that he has cerebral palsy, and everybody legitimate, because he's old now and he doesn't have teeth, so he's very hard to understand, right? But I'm used to him. I know what he's saying. And everybody assumes he's retarded, but he's actually like he's got a master's degree in history. Me and him play fucking chess. He knows me and him would talk about the history of wrestling. Like he knows like some really crazy, wild, wrestling lore and collects stuff. But everybody else that sees him, they see this guy in a wheelchair and he can't control his hands and he can't talk properly. And they literally assume he has what used to be called mental retardation. I'm not sure what the word is for it now. It's not Down syndrome because that's not the same thing, but you know what I mean.
Mental retardation is a good, it's an effective like medical description. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
But this guy, he wasn't that. He had cerebral palsy. He's a really intelligent guy. And if not for my father-in-law, who would always give everybody the benefit of the doubt, maybe I wouldn't have played chess with this guy, right? Because I had the same thought. Is like, well, why would I play chess with this guy, right? He doesn't look very smart. And I learned a lot in that. And I was an adult when this happened, and I learned a lesson. I still talk to the guy all the time,
That's kind of the whole thing of why I think that like Mersh and a few of these other people, like, they always underestimate me, right? But then when they figure out that I'm smarter than they think I am, it really pisses.
Which is funny because the bar of what they think you are is really, really low, unreasonably so for anybody. Like,
yeah,
it's funny to me. But yeah, all this is to say, look, man, over here on Team Whitfield, like, we will clap back, we'll fight back, we'll defend ourselves, but we're just not looking to get involved in like the Ethan Ralph saga or anything.
I mean, yeah, and that's I would argue that's never been the case. Even though
I agree, I want the fucking audience to be sure of that, right?
Well, yeah. Even with the Vickers thing, like, a lot of that had to do with, like,
I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
Like, my whole thing on that was this guy, Mr. Vickers, is way more interesting than just the e-drama.
Yeah,
stuff. Like he has a coin shop, and now, like, obviously
he's a really interesting character. He did like ghost hunting. He used to have these crazy haunted house, all this shit that like the Kiwi farmers are bad about him or whatever. They think it's awful.
He has a half demon. He has a half demon grandchild. What the fuck?
How
much more interesting can you get?
I could think is he sounds like a pretty cool dad. Like, if he was your dad, it'd be all right because he's into cool shit. Right? Helping run a fucking haunted house on Halloween. Yeah, that would be a good childhood memory. I don't know.
Yeah.
I went on his show and talked about coin collecting for 2 hours, drove the Kiwi farmers crazy.
Yeah. He and I went on like a 3-hour rant about Batman. When I went on his show the first time.
And look, that's not to say we don't find the Ethan Ralph drama hilarious, because dude, his court filings are so dumb. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. It's amazing. It's hilarious, and I do watch those episodes of the Vickers. Like I say, though, it's just like we don't have any personal connection to Ralph, so there's no point in dragging us into it. With Mersh, with Owen Benjamin, you have a personal connection there, so both those make sense to me.
Yeah,
I think the connection, the haters. Sorry to cut you off, but before I forget, because I tend to, is I think it's the connection to the Vickers. I think it's Sam's association. That's what's.
That's up to him, and if he doesn't want to change that, then fuck him, right?
No, of course not. But I'm just speculating as to, and I think that may even be the reason the YouTube channel got suspended. I think,
I think it made it more likely for the little, cozy fans or whatever to fucking come flag his channel down for sure.
Yeah,
I call them hog logs.
There you go.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised, and we're not going to sit here and say there wasn't shit that might have been against the terms of service or whatever. It's just like the episode he got banned for.
There definitely was. I told the audience to kill themselves on like fucking like 20 or 30 consecutive episodes.
Based, but no one's denying that. It's just the episode he got banned during. He's literally talking about like a family funeral and what he's going to do on the show going forward, and saying, the co-host, he's left, he's, working on himself or whatever, and we're going to do this. And then the fucking show was gone. And I was like, YouTube, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
Well, I have a confession to make, guys. I was drunk and on mushrooms, and I created 7 different YouTube accounts right after I was like, Sammy, I need to take a break. And I went and I flagged the fuck out of that video with like
Based
14 different YouTube channels. I got in contact with Keemstar. I'm like, hey, make sure this motherfucker goes down, because that channel is dying with me, because I was trying to kill myself, and I failed because I figured out you can't tie the drawstring. Fuck, I don't of your sweatpants around your platform bed that's a foot off the ground. It doesn't work. You can't kill yourself that way. So I failed.
We owe
but
you
I still got
or whoever did it a big thanks, because we're having so much fun.
Yeah.
That's the best part of this, is like, if the best revenge is living well, I'm happy because I stopped talking politics on YouTube. I talked about this when I guested on Sam's show, because Tim Pool's people copy claimed me because I showed a video where somebody pulled his hat off and he had a bald head. He didn't own the video. He doesn't own the video at all. The guy that owned the video gave me permission, but yet Tim Pool gave me 2 copyright strikes and then sent an email that they were going to send in a third on me if I didn't take down.
Yeah.
If I didn't take down not just that video, but I did an entire series of videos called Tim Pool doesn't understand, and then whatever the topic was. So I did like 3 or 4 weeks of that every day. I'd pick a Tim Pool video and explain why he doesn't understand what he's fucking talking about. And he demanded that I remove all those videos and not make any more. And you know what?
Yeah.
I can't fight Tim Pool. I don't have the platform. I don't have the support. I don't have the money. So I stopped talking politics on YouTube. So this chance to talk candidly with Sam, on Mondays, I actually really look forward to it now. It's been it's been a lot of fun.
Well, like, I'm not like an economic wonk, so it's nice to have someone who can actually explain like what is this whole banking crash actually. Because I mean, the other thing too that I really like about like having conversations with Max is everyone in politics is on the internet seems to be a doomer, right? It's all,
hold on. They all have an agenda. It's all money. They all have money coming from one direction or the other.
I don't necessarily think he's talking about like the influencers, as they say, or whatever, but more just like generally people talking politics, right?
Okay.
Because most people talking politics do have a very extremely negative outlook on what they think for the future, to put it nicely as possible.
Sure, as do most people I talk to in real life.
Right.
I
mean, it's not completely unwarranted.
Either. No, not at all.
But
well, I would go ahead. Sorry.
But like having someone who can like explain like what the economic crash is that without it being like, and it was the Jews' fault or something like,
or that it's going to be the end of society because it wasn't,
right.
I mean, it probably was the Jews' fault, but yeah. Just kidding, guys.
We can say that, I guess.
We can say that.
I mean,
disavow.
I said so much worse than that on YouTube.
I bet. That's
for years.
That's why it's crazy. I knew if I started talking politics with Sam, well, I figured I would get banned. So I was actually planning on not sitting in as a co-host, and that's why he calls me producer. I was gonna do more production because I figured I'd just get us in trouble. But then he got banned, and I'm like, you know what?
Fuck it.
Fuck it. And like my opinions, this is what he's getting at. Is I'm generally kind of white pilled because I look at kind of a long game. I feel like a lot of people are very short-sighted, and that's why they're so doomery. Things are bad right now for most people, and so it's understandable to feel like things are bad and that they might not improve. But that doesn't bear out with history. And it certainly there's a lot of factors that I think people understand. People think that the system we live in is a much more fragile than it is, and that's the real thing. It's cathartic to imagine a fallout situation and then forget that in the game of Fallout you're essentially a superhero, right?
Yeah.
In real life, you're not. In real life, you don't want to sit. I'll tell you right now, anybody thinking that watches this and says, I can't wait for the Civil War. No, yeah, you can.
Yeah,
Actually,
trust me,
you're
can.
not ready for that. You're not ready for the level of brutality that you're discussing about. It's a LARP. It's a cope. And it's a cope because things are so bad that you think that they're not going to improve throughout some radically drastic thing happening, right? But what if that thing is not only not going to happen, but not possible, right? Then you're wasting your fucking time.
Hey guys, I'll be right back. So feel the
Don't turn the camera off. It's the 15th anniversary. Don't you dare turn that camera off.
So I will mute my mic though, because I assume that none of you guys want to hear me flushing the toilet in the room next to me. So
you don't have to keep your camera on, Sammy. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bully you into. You know what? Yes, I am.
You know what though? I might go and crawl for a beer though after I go to the bathroom. So
yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah, see, I know, yeah.
But
I'll be back though.
I think you should end the stream.
I just think that most people are kind of LARPing, hoping for a magical event that fixes whatever problems that they experience most dearly, and that it's setting people are setting themselves up for disappointment, when what really happens is stuff will get marginally better and then marginally worse and then marginally better and then marginally worse. And that's what's
dramatic changes do happen though, Max, right? I mean, you can agree with that. That, like, in historically speaking, politically and shit,
they do happen. It's we're not at that point, is my contention. And
sure.
And everybody who's gone against me on that has been wrong, because I've been saying this for, like, I know the Doomer thing is newer among a lot of people, but I've been dealing with Doomers who have this kind of opinion for at least 20 years. And every time it's like, there was this one guy in particular that was like in our Discord server, and it would always be like, well, in the springtime, it's all going to kick off. And he said that every fucking year. And I said, no, it's not. And it still hasn't, right? He literally messaged me. He sent me an email the day before January 6th. And he's like, everything's going to pop off tomorrow. You just watch. And I did. I watched a bunch of narcissistic grifters go in with their cameras out and take pictures
and not get prosecuted. well, the normies did. But yeah, no. I was thinking for the last minute or so. I wanted to say something like 5 minutes ago, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But you just reminded me that, like I was mentioning earlier, we went off on the whole COVID shit, especially when the lockdowns started popping off, and just that general area and time when everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people started getting particularly doomery on all ends of the spectrum, masks everywhere and fucking.
I would argue it's the largest contributor to doomerism is
sure,
COVID,
but
sure.
I said from the beginning, and it's surely documented on this show, that I believed wholeheartedly, and it's always been my nature. I guess I project kind of the retard, everyman, I guess, sort of adopting the doomer to some degree, with the whole kill yourself motif. That's just projection. But I said from the get-go that, and very wholeheartedly, that I believed in not only the American spirit, but the human spirit to triumph whatever lied ahead. And I had no doubt that we were in for some fucked up shit, and that the people in power were going to take advantage, and that this disease may or may not be, some really bad.
Yeah, we just didn't know, right?
We didn't know.
And that's what people like. I was talking about, like, the kind of anti-vax movement. It is what a lot of them seem to forget is, why did a lot of people go along with a lot of shit, is because they legitimately didn't know, and a person in power was telling them this is the right call.
Yeah.
And that's it's as simple as that. It really doesn't. you know, it doesn't boil for the average person. I mean, it doesn't amount to any more than that. Is like there were people saying this is what's going to keep us safe because we don't know about this, and we didn't know, so that was true, and so that fear really resonated with people.
Sure, and then
and we don't have that fear anymore. People, even normies, don't have that fear of COVID anymore at all.
Of course not. Yeah, because right, because like even the people that consumed no news whatsoever, say in rural community, they went to their grocery store, and there were signs out front. There were employees inside that were not letting you in or demanding that you wear a mask. And they're like, "What? Wait, what the fuck?" And then, which prompts research and then all they get is, whatever's on fucking TV. Generally speaking.
Worst case scenario, they get the TV. Best case scenario, they get two sides that are completely conflicting. And in the end, both of them were mostly untrue, right?
Right.
And
exactly.
And that's the reality. And it's no wonder these people end up confused, right?
Sure. I mean, and I always believed, just, being a child of the late 80s and early 90s, or late 80s and 90s, understanding of basic, virology, maybe not virology, but just like how things work and how the human body works and stuff. And how it's not, people aren't bleeding. It's not the hot zone. People aren't bleeding out of their assholes and dumping their internal organs out. It's a flu, like by all accounts, by everything that was reported.
It was a flu, and this is a point that I made at the time. It's a flu that we didn't have therapeutics for yet, which made it much more dangerous. As soon as we got therapeutics, the pandemic at that point, it was over, right? It was, it was contained and controlled to such a degree. And I was arguing about this earlier. Well, I wasn't arguing because nobody argued with me, but the lockdowns, at the initial voluntary lockdowns that Trump talked about, were A, voluntary, and B, they're not the lockdowns you're thinking of, because the lockdowns you're thinking of were all done from the state and local level, and it was all done. Every goddamn tin pot dictator wannabe, every fucking banana republic motherfucker that thinks he can tell it, every Karen in the world, put your mask on. You gotta put your mask on. They all fucking loved it because they're authoritarians at heart.
Yeah. Guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna fill the fucking skate parks with beach sand, bitch.
Yeah.
the public park. We're gonna fill that shit with sand. You can't have fun anymore.
My absolute favorite pandemic video, I've mentioned it before, is the video of the Orthodox Jewish rabbis cutting a lock on a park in New York City so the kids could play.
No,
that is
I think
the most
my favorite
American shit I have ever seen in my life.
I think my favorite is that Orthodox Jewish guy coughing on the police coming in to confiscate his N95 masks or whatever. He's like, you can't come in. I've got COVID. Like right in their direction, like it's a firearm. Is fucking awesome.
I just love them cutting that lock. They get the bolt cutters, they cut it, and they all just start cheering and singing Hava Nagila and shit. And I was like, this is so based.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Our kids are gonna fucking play in the park, bitch. Shut the fuck up. And I had that problem. Is they were this is another thing people forget. As a parent with a young kid, they were arresting parents taking their kids to the fucking park. I got scared. Can I take my kid to the park?
Yeah. Imagine you're in lockup. So what are you in for? I was doing drugs. What are you in for? I took my kid to the fucking park.
All I could really think about wasn't even that. I was thinking about getting arrested in front of my fucking son over this retardedness. So what did I do? Well, look, I'm a strong, independent guy. I didn't take my kid to the park though. Not early on. I was nervous because I've been abused by police before. So if anybody's aware that cops can be, out of bounds, it's certainly me. And so that was, there was a fear in that. And that fear is powerful. That fear is what motivated people to get the vaccine, even if they didn't want to, because they were afraid of losing their jobs. That fear did all kinds of things. And also my biggest concern with the pandemic going forward, and thankfully my kid is not a party to this because we didn't make him a germaphobe, but most of the kids in his age group, not most, but a lot of them are going to have long-term neurological and psychological hangups about germs and disease and pandemics.
Well, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, my kid was in the kindergarten class when they made them wear masks in school, and I actively said, these kids are learning to speak. This is not good. And they
No. I literally said that. I said that on this show. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's good for people fucking talk about it. The school's speech therapist talked to me about it, and she was like, yeah, you're 100% right. I'm just not allowed to say it anymore because I'm teaching these kids speech therapy, right? And how am I doing it with a mask on? They can't see me form the fucking words.
Yeah. So how much of, human speech is derived, or human communication rather, is derived from interpreting, facial expressions and movements of the mouth and body language, of course,
even
too.
Just learning pronunciation. This is why so many kids, they pronounce F's wrong, right? Because they have to actually see the tongue and the teeth and how they move to get it. And sure enough, what do you find? Well, the kids that did the year, because they did almost a whole year in Massachusetts of masking, the kids who were there, so it was from September, beginning of the year, all the way until March of last year. More of them have trouble pronouncing F's, PH's, TH's, and several other sound categories. And it's like they're all sound categories directly tied to and related to you being able to see the mouth of the person talking so that you can see the proper way to form your words.
So what you're saying, Max, is essentially Boston is going to have a whole new weird accent because of this COVID shit.
Yeah, not just Boston. I'll also say this. Massachusetts has been #1 in education. And it's not even disputable. Like, we're so far in terms of testing and IQ scores and everything, we're so far above every other state that it's not even comparable. That's not going to be true in 5 years. You watch. We're not even going to be in the top 5 in 5 years. We're going to be in probably the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And you could argue that some of the good education here comes from leftist policies. It does. It comes from fucking spending umpteen billions of fucking state dollars on education. And I could argue about that, as a fiscally responsible kind of guy. I don't like that. But the fact is that it worked to some degree, and the education in this state was so far above everybody else. And that this one decision, I think, is going to set all of that back. Probably so drastically that we'll never be in the top for education again.
Shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. It's a shame, especially because you think about where Massachusetts lands in terms of the educational spectrum. We're the state with Harvard. We're the state with MIT. We're the on the East Coast. The intellectual foundation of most STEM fields is Massachusetts, as well as most legal fields, and a lot of the highest end doctors and surgeons in the world study here as well.
Right.
So us losing our grasp on education might as well be us losing the one thing that we had as a state. Obviously, we don't have low taxes, right? We don't have a lot of freedom, but we had at least that, and that's not going to be the case anymore. And of course, as those test scores get lower, here's the fun side effect of all these Democrat programs. As the test scores get lower, as we go further and further down the pecking order in terms of education, they're going to lose funding. And so it's going to get worse. It's a cycle. This is why Alabama is in the state that it is educationally. Now, I know people will be like, the public education system shit across the board. This is true. Yeah, for sure. But that being said, right, Massachusetts was the best in the country, which made it the best in the world. And that's not going to be true anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that that hit's going to be taken across the board, perhaps more so in
less so in like Florida because they didn't mask all the kids for a year. But yeah, there's going to be, I think there's going to be that hit because who liked the lockdowns and the masking more than teachers? Is there any group of people in this country that liked it more?
Right. Sit home, get drunk, do class with with no fucking pants on. I mean, why not?
Yeah, and say any wild thing you fucking want, right? That's a newer thing. Teachers used to be worried about that. They don't see. It's funny because there's more possibility of you going viral now than there was obviously 20 years ago.
Bro, like I remember when I was in middle school when the Bush Gore election happened, and none of our teachers, although especially my history teacher, social studies teacher, was particularly interested in politics. That's what he taught, that the history of it, basically, or at least to some degree. Nobody would even tell you who they voted for.
Right.
Nowadays,
it used to
they'll
be said
tell you how they take, what kind of dildos they take in their fucking ass.
True.
To fifth graders and shit.
Yeah. It used to be said that in polite company, you didn't speak about religion, politics, or abortion. And now that's all most people want to talk about.
Religion and politics. Fuck, the two things that are at the forefront of modern, at least popular conversation.
Everything.
Well, that's why we're in this mess, though. It's
exactly.
Look, that's a boomer mentality, right? The boomer mentality was we don't talk about politics. And we see the outcome of it is you've now created a generation that can talk about nothing else.
Yeah.
And look, the lefties are left and whatever, but it's still by necessity even on their end, because the same problems that we're facing, they're facing, and then they have a whole set of problems that they care about that we don't. But the fact of the matter is that not addressing politics, not having that kind of discourse openly because of the boomers' kind of insular nature about this topic makes it so that there's so many problems and so much going on, and you feel like you could be the hero of the world, and then all your teachers say, these left wing and be nice and everybody's included in all this fucking shit. It's no wonder these activists exist, and it's literally directly derived from the boomers' love for the status quo and respect and tradition and the sanctity of the institution and all this shit that boomers had.
Like fucking 150 years ago, a couple of guys were like, hey, you know what we should do? We should make it like the American family political or like societal norm to not talk about religion, which is now separated from state, and politics, which we are running fucking buck wild, and we will continue to do so progressively over the next several decades, just to make his.
Oh, looks like he got the boot.
Finally. I was waiting.
I guess the feds booted you or Apex.
Oh man, what did you hear? What was the last thing I said? That's fucked up.
I wanted to bring it up since we have this now as a thing that can happen. There was a super chat on Rumble, Sam, if you'd like to take a look at that.
There was.
Oh.
MAGA Network, MAGA News Network says Catholicism is what we call a religion. Sam is faking it. I'm not Catholic.
What the fuck?
I don't. Shmuly,
did you ever claim to be Catholic?
Based MAGA News Network, though.
I've never claimed to be Catholic.
I believe whoever that is probably saying that like you're faking being crippled.
Oh,
right. Because it's.
Do you need a beer yet? Do you need a beer, Sam? Or?
Oh
yeah,
we've just we've just uncovered the Sam conspiracy. He's just faking it.
Yeah, it's true.
I should. Yeah, I'm.
Look at him. He doesn't look crippled.
I'm so crippled. I need to go and grab a beer.
Yeah, now he's gonna crawl. He's gonna literally crawl across the floor like he wouldn't have a jungle gym set up.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, dude. Any real cripple would have a series of monkey bars.
Yeah.
From where he's sitting.
Yeah.
To the refrigerator.
Pulleys and like rubber bands. And...
Look at him. Like, oh, I'm gonna crawl, all dramatic.
Yeah, I'm gonna really sell it here. Look at how buff my arms are as a non-crippled person pretending to be crippled. Poor fucking bastard.
He just no. We exposed him, so he has to go all in. Is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that MAGA News Network's pretty astute.
I mean, that's a pretty good crawl. His legs are crossed. That's pretty good core strength, man.
I was like, yeah, Sam, I'll be around like 2:00. I gotta go run a 5 mile and take a shower. You know how it is. And then I was like, oh wait, no, he doesn't.
Exposed. Quit it.
Soon to come on Sam's merchandise will be the Catholicism is what we call a religion T-shirt.
Oh, dude, can we get like a silhouette of him like he was just now, like on his hands and knees with his feet crossed, like it maybe like a weird angle, just like a solid silhouette?
We were talking about doing like the handicap symbol, but with like sunglasses and a flat top on it, and make that a T-shirt.
Well, there's been I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there's been a long running bit here on Sammy's channel that he's got a chariot like from like Roman times with like blades that come out of the wheels and caltrops to drop upon pursuers and shit like that.
See, he had to ride his chair past the door to make sure we saw. I'm telling you, we got him.
Yeah, he leaves the door open.
No, he crawled out of the. You guys didn't see him crawl?
Yeah, no, but I just saw him come. I saw him come past in his chair across the hallway.
Oh, shit, I didn't see that. I
was like, yeah, he's laying it on thick.
It's like one of the episodes of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I'll just peel Sammy's face back, and he's a black woman.
No, like the hallway scenes where they're running to the doors.
Oh yeah.
Coming down it was like that.
Yeah, coming out of this door, and yeah, I love that. That would be so great if he came through the closer hallway from the other direction and just kept going.
What would be great is if we're talking all this shit and he just like walks in casually.
Yeah. After all this time, look, I've seen that nigga's feet. He's crippled.
Why were you looking at his feet?
Well, like I was describing earlier when you were muted, he used to show the chat when I first found Sammy. His Discord friends used to be like, "Take your shirt off, show feet. Take your shirt off, Sammy, you bitch." And he just always took his shirt off and like showed his feet on cam.
Well, now we know that that's the thing you can super chat Sam to do.
Yes, you can probably still get him to do that.
Yeah. We need to add that as like a $15.
Yeah, that'll be a tier in the subscription plan.
Yeah,
take your shirt off, $25.
My favorite thing though in all of this was when he showed me that merch thing. My favorite line, like we've brought it back, so now the "I was nice to you's now become a meme again. But what really struck me was Mersh saying, "You'll never be bigger than me," and it's like, we get it, Mersh. You're really, really fat, you know.
Yeah. If we could get some pulleys in the proper, harness, we could get Sammy to stand up straight to look like he's like standing upright, like a Well, we could pretend like we've got a harness. You guys get what I'm. So we can stand up like a normal person and say, "Damn, I'll never be as big as you," type of thing.
So what's
Well, he also said Sam would always live in his shadow, and it's like, Mersh, we all live in your shadow.
It's called the moon, bitch. Yeah, no, I love that because again, he dedicated a tremendous amount of time, clearly desperate for content, and he did a show.
Did you see on Twitter when I posted it what his response was?
Yes, Sammy eating his booger, which was very familiar to me.
Yeah, it's like I had not seen that video, and I was like, "This is your big comeback, Mersh."
It was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, it's a funny video. I kept it. I saved it. I'm gonna use it.
It's funny.
But like his big comeback after.
Yeah, like you guys
full of
whatever the response. I think Genius Anus posted something being like blah blah blah. He tagged me in it. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he tagged me in saying something like "shut your fucking mouth" in Sam, with a clip of Sammy's video, and Merce responded with "you deserve each other" or "you can have each other" or something like that of Sammy with the thing.
Yeah, chomping on the old booger. Here's the thing: is like what he doesn't get is everybody except him was laughing about his clip, right?
Yeah,
because his clip makes him look like such a fucking bastard. And his response to that is, "Oh, Sam fucking ate a booger." Like, who fucking cares? Like, yeah, that's funny. Don't get me wrong, that's funny. But if that's your gotcha, if that's your like, take this other guy down.
Yeah, this fucking kid that's been streaming since he was like 12 years old. You mean the camera caught him eating a booger one time? Holy shit. But no, my point was that he levied threats against me in those clips too, because I was saying,
oh yeah,
doxing wasn't fucking illegal. It's not that, like, obviously I don't agree with it, but he's like, we'll fucking see about that, Apex, and I mean, of course he said it in the show, but it's always Sammy. He went to Sammy for the interview because he thought that would be some sort of token card he could pull. Yeah, and then when it backfired, he's only focused on Sammy. While I have been Sammy's co-host for years, literal years, prior to that one particular show that we had Alan on, that he felt so
and Merch, it's funny because Merch has bigger problems than fucking Sammy these days. Whatever you think about Pod Awful, like that seems to be a bigger problem in his life, but he still took the time to share me a video of Sammy and his booger, and I saved it, and we'll play it again in the future because it's funny. But if he thinks that was the takedown, right? Sam's gonna quit now. Oh, it's all over. He ate a booger fucking 10 years ago. Oh my god.
Listen, there are clips of me of me flat out drunk on some.
No, I've already been educating both of these gentlemen to the ease of removing your shirt / you dragging one of them damn feet up into camera with a super chat. Back in the day, it didn't require a super chat. You had like 6 people in chat, and they were all saying, "Take your shirt off, bitch." You fucking bitch. Take your shirt off.
We're putting price tags on that now.
Yeah, we are putting price tags on that now.
You want the goods, you got to pay. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
$25.
Yeah, well, because now we can.
Yeah, so. check out Sam's OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Someone,
that's a good fucking idea, man.
Someone actually suggested that. Yeah, it's like a practical joke because OnlyFans would be less censorious than YouTube.
Yeah. Unironically, me, Smuly, and a friend of ours, Iron Man, actually consider doing a stream on OnlyFans just because it's not as censorious. And
yeah, fuck it. It's another platform, dude. Use it. The only thing I've ever cared about, the reason I joined Sammy, other than it being fun for me, which was the lesser, I had the same motivations as you, Max, or as you guys, you and everybody involved with you. Sammy deserves better, and I thought I could help Sammy, and I did not really do that. I don't think, but maybe, depending on how you calculate it. But either way,
I will frame it like this: you opened him up to different avenues and topics,
which led him to you.
Yes.
And here's one thing I want to say this because I do have to go. My wife's expecting me, but I wanted one last word on this Mersh thing in particular, right? There's one thing that you'll never get, Mersh, that Sam just got. And I promise you this. I can guarantee you that this is a true thing. You're never going to get an interview with Kurt Doolittle. That's never going to happen, Mersh. It's never, ever, not in a million years. And you know why? Because all I have to do, Smuly, or some of these other people that have known Kurt for a very long time, is say, don't bother with this guy. He's a bum.
Yeah. And Mersh follows Kurt too.
I know he does. That's why I want to point that out. I might even clip this and fucking add him on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, we got Barricade Garage. So you guys are fucking gay, and you can go have fun in your little science class or whatever. But that's
not how it works. Okay, I follow Kurt because he's a lol cow. All right.
Yeah. He's fucking retarded, just like Sam.
The game
I can barely understand what he says.
The game is, you got Kurt Doolittle, but I got more views. Okay, so you think this is a game? Just me sitting here spitballing is bigger than you with Kurt. All right.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of interesting fucking guests in the pike as well that you're never gonna get. Right, because here's the thing: you were nice to Sam, but you're not really nice to anybody, Mersh. Everybody fucking dislikes you.
It was never nice to Sam. Let's be clear.
Yeah, obviously, and like you don't endear yourself to people, and you don't make ties with people, and nobody finds your commentary interesting except the few people that are in on your little pyramid grift scheme. And we're just gonna be out here, and we're gonna do what we do. And
we'll be
it's
popping jabs, motherfucker. We'll be popping jabs from far beyond your little T-Rex fat fucking.
I looked at
you can't reach us, dude.
I looked at your stupid fucking channel, Mersh. Not the Mersh, not the Nightwave, right? But like the good one, supposedly the ROTC. And we're already 10% of the way there, and I've only been helping Sam for 2 weeks. So fuck you. How about that?
Yeah, him and that fat Puerto Rican, that's actually been lifting weight, so good for him. Have been doing this shit for a long time.
Yeah, and what's the most memorable thing about them is that they had to fucking sing happy birthday to Styx.
The most memorable thing about them to me is that Mersh lived on Royce's couch with him and his wife's house for fucking a long time.
But I've found that explaining Mersh to anybody, if I point out the fucking happy birthday incident, some of them at least remember.
Oh, that's so good.
Because
that's so
for
good.
anybody that missed it, they called Styx Hexenhammer a pedophile. We're completely blown out in the fucking debate about it, and then
because it wasn't true, right? Yeah, they just lied
because it was just made up bullshit. And then they had to, as repentance or whatever, sing him happy birthday because they did it on his fucking birthday.
On a live stream, on what was that? That was on a kill stream, right?
No, that was on morning Kumite.
Kumite, that's right. That was on the Kumite before the kill stream was anything.
I had to go back and look because I wasn't into all that stuff, so I didn't know that offhand. But I heard the segment because it's in the Porcelain document. Which, by the way, if you got a 3 fucking hour documentary about you, glass houses is all I'm gonna say.
Incredible. Well, Max, thank you for being here. Look, I'm talking like I've been here the whole time. The old co-host in me.
We're glad. I'll revert that. We're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
It's always a
I'm
pleasure.
happy to be here, man. I love you guys, and I love this crippled little bastard. This cute little shit over in the corner here.
Love it too, Gundam
But
Pegs.
yeah. Max, you said you got to go, right? So I was just saying, have a good night, my friend.
It's been a pleasure. 15 years. Here's to at least double that more.
Yeah,
right? We're gonna keep it going.
He's got it in him. He's like a fucking Muay Thai fighter that went professional at like 12.
Yeah,
he's just fucking. I don't know why that was a reference I just used. Maybe
I just can't wait till he outgrows us, right? And then he's off on his own for bigger and better things.
Me neither, because I have been very persistent, and I do not want. I've never wanted any money. I don't want to be monetarily involved. I just want to help. But when Sammy starts making, $3 million a year, just being crippled on the internet and making content, and I could have been the guy holding the camera and being like, bah, 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 bah. Be like, fuck. I might be mad then, but
yeah,
I'll be happy for him.
There's always going to be spots for us on the show, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make
origins.
sure.
Right. I'm part of the origin story. You're right. So there's always going to be something there.
I'll make sure. Let me put it this way. I'll make sure that you get more of the spot than Mr. I was nice to you, and I drive a 2008 Beamer.
Well, that's exactly what I'm gonna do when you outgrow me, right? Is I'm just gonna turn into Mersh and just start being like, I was nice to you.
I was fucking not, dude. I did all the work for you, you crippled bitch. I fucking.
Well, but see, that's the other thing though too, is like you at least did help out. Like Mersh came on my show one time.
Never promoted you outside of that.
Nope.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I will bid you all adieu with one final thing, and that is free Froggy Fresh and iDubbbz is a bitch.
Good night.
Yeah. Take it easy.
All right. And
right at the 4-hour mark.
Yeah, we are. Do either of you, Apex, what have you been I know that Steely, I don't know if he's able to watch this, but Steely in particular has asked me where you've been and what you've been up to.
Well, to be honest with you, man, I've been in the same place doing the same things as I was over the last, several months of doing the show. I'm just I'm trying to dig out of a hole, man, and this show for a long time was an outlet for me.
Yeah,
and I think it still is, but I've been doing like an elimination diet kind of thing where I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong. And the answer is obvious. I need to stop fucking drinking. I need to move out of this piece of shit house with these people that I hate, and move on with my life beyond the life I had when I met you.
Yeah,
that's been the weird, kind of bell curve of this whole relationship here. Is I've instead of the smart thing, just stepping away entirely, I've endured all of the suffering here on the internet with you, my friend.
Yeah,
and the audience. So I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm alive. Not super healthy, but I'm still tall and skinny. So
well, you and I at least have one of those things in common.
Well, I also have a huge dick, so we also have that in common.
Well, yeah, that too. So,
Anyway,
but
man, happy 15 years, dude. I don't
yeah,
want to keep you on anymore. I know you've been live forever. Thank you for letting me join. I
no, you're
love you very
welcome.
much, dude. I really do. And
And
I look forward to your success in the future.
hey, no problem, man. Thanks for helping, you know, in the way that you did, and you really. It is funny. I'm sure Max will catch this, but if you hadn't invited Johnny Fox on or Falco Punch or whatever he was going under at the time, and he had autistically spurred out about Max on my show, I wouldn't be where I am. So in a weird way, you helped with this shit. So I appreciate it. So
Damn, is that true? Did I do that?
yeah, well, because remember he was the Jack Pierce like author guy. You
Oh yeah, he was like a Twitter dude, and I was like, hey, yeah, I was trying to do like,
yeah,
fuck,
so
I forgot about that.
yeah, so what happened with that was like, so he came on my show, and I don't know if you were there or if it was one of the nights that you had to work. I think it might have been one of those, but like he started like talking about like his books or whatnot, which is what we were supposed to
Dude, yeah,
talk
that's
about.
one of the shows. I was not there for that show. Go ahead. Sorry,
And
I
then
remember this.
well, and then what happened was like in the midst of him talking like one of his books, he just goes off on like he brings up like this random guy named Max Sand who up to that point it would have been like if we were talking like politics and all of a sudden I brought up Dr. Seuss like for no
Yeah.
it was he just went on like this rant out of left field that was like completely unrelated to everything. And so I was just like, and so out of curiosity, I was like, well, who is this Max Sand guy that he's talking about? If this guy is as bad as he thinks he is,
He's
then
probably pretty cool, huh?
then I want to be cautious of this guy. So I looked him up, and like he was like doing all this content on like basically like a poor man's Mr. Medicare, just like laughing at
Yeah.
low tier like locales and talking out video games and whatnot. So I'm like, really, that's who this guy is afraid of? So yeah.
Well, let me just say, you are very welcome.
So
yeah. But also, I want to say, I think I said this already, but a happy 15 years, buddy. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What are you, 26 now?
28. So
what the fuck?
Yeah.
What?
I was 24 when I met you.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That's insane, man.
Yeah.
Fucking wild. I love you to death, man. I really do. And I'm happy. I'm happy you're doing well. Hold on. I meant to ask this earlier, but there was a lot of clutter. Are you making more or at least as much money now on being off of YouTube?
Well, I'm making more money here. I mean, it's not a lot, but I am like I'm getting more viewers, which I think is the more important thing. But yeah, like people are starting to donate now because of Rumble and Odyssey being able to do it. One of the things is like I guess a lot of people like to do donations through like Apple Pay or like or whatever the Android equivalent of that is, which you can't do on Rumble's app, at least not yet. But I think once you can do like mobile donations, yeah, that'll like that'll change things. So
well, yeah, that's always been my concern was getting you traction an audience and, therefore money. You know what I mean? And I tried to do it the other direction for a long time, but
to be fair though, I mean, originally when John Arcade first found me on Twitter, like that was the whole reason why he, like back when he was filming with Owen, he thought that I could help Owen out with some of the political stuff, and then Owen could give me more of a spotlight. And then the whole so like I don't really, and like I said, I think that's one thing that people fail to understand is when we first encountered Owen, he was completely, like, he was normal, albeit a little,
basically,
albeit a little goofy, but that, he was more like an eccentric Steven Crowder type, guy. So
yeah, he was just a 6'8" man that had been fucked in his ass for parts in Hollywood.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I don't want to, I just got here, but if I'm happy to say goodnight if you want to end the stream, man.
Yeah, I think we've been going for almost 4 hours, so
no, 4 hours and 10 minutes in 15 seconds.
Yeah, pretty good for an anniversary live stream. So thanks to everyone who came out. Thanks to Genius Anus and Vicious Vickers for the donations tonight.
Huge.
Genius Anus gave me like $30 in PlayStation credits, and then
shit.
And then Vickers gave me a donation, which I can't read right now because my PayPal account is tied to my phone, which I'm using as my webcam. But I'll be sure to bring that up on Monday's show for sure. And then just everyone who's popped in, I really appreciate it. So thanks for coming on, everyone. So
And I want to say officially happy 15th.
Well, thank you.
I love you, buddy.
Love
thank you for having me all this time.
So, and don't be a stranger. Hopefully we'll have you back on. Maybe not all the time, but on occasion. So,
all right.
But have a good night, folks, and we'll talk down the road. Later.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to The Whitfield Report on the NGC Network. Please visit Sam's website at www.thesamwhitfield.com and support Sam on Patreon at patreon.com/Whitfield Report. Until next time, God bless, God save this great nation, and God, freedom, legacy, in that order.